Yugoslavia fell apart, it was a very like socialist nation. It was
Hmm.
very, and it was like a very unique form of communism, which is why I kind of respect it a lot. Just Tito alone, but he did some not so good things, but he did a lot of good things.
All right. And yeah, we'll get into it. I guess let's go on ahead get started. We are live. This is the Political Matrix. I'm your host, Marcus Young Morpheus Cage. Chris is off for the night, celebrating some good times with some friends. We got a guest host in for us. Happy to welcome to the show, Greg Matisich. He runs the show Big Mad Crab, which I've just come across. Very interesting videos, and he did a dynamite video against breaking points, and so we're definitely going to get into that. How are we doing tonight, Greg?
Good, good. I wouldn't call myself a show. I mean, I'm actually more so like a musician, but
Well,
I do
actually, well, yeah.
several
Let's
different art.
let's introduce yourself so people can get more familiar with you. And I know you through indie, and so yeah, they can understand like what you
Yeah.
do over with indie left news.
Yes, I do. I do most of the art. Uh, in terms of my own like personal shit, I'm making videos. I'm making music. Anything in the creative realm, I'm on top of that. So part of the Indie News Network. Indie should be here any moment now, but yeah, I'm on Twitter. Go by Big Mac Crab. I shit post a lot.
It sounds your background sounds like how mine is often. I decided
Yeah, you know,
today
I'm in Jersey City, so it's like great.
I want to send a shout out to everybody who's in the chat with us. I see Baba Yaga was first in there, beating out Warren Extra Bulla, our good friend Uncle Warren. I see Lady Alex out there. Mr. Streets, glad to see you back. Chris actually asked about you last week. And I see Kelly in there. And then I'll say a hello to everybody who comes filing in a little bit later on. Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I guess you guys didn't. I always have a little bit of chit chat behind the scenes before we get going. And when I was asking Greg his how to pronounce his last name, um, he he uh, he enlightened me that his background actually has a tie-in to part of my military service. So I thought that was pretty cool. Let them know. I'm sorry for interrupting, but let you.
I'm not.
I'll let you
It's cool,
continue.
man.
I'll
Hey,
let
it's
you
your
continue.
show. You do what you gotta do, man.
Yeah, but you have to cut me off sometimes,
I
because I
get.
know I can
Okay,
run my
all right.
mouth. Hey Tina.
Yeah. So, second generation Croatian. I just happen to know a lot about the Yugoslavian history. In terms of Bosnia, I mean, I know Serbia slaughtered a bunch of them.
Hmm.
Croatia, that see, I feel like the difference between Serbia and Croatia is Serbia slaughters people in the streets, and then in Croatia we just displace people. So it's kind of like a calm genocide. It's like a not it's kind of like a non-deadly genocide where they just shove them into a different country. Um, I mean, actually, Croatia's been fairly like anti-war. I remember the Croatian president actually railing off against NATO for their conflict with Russia for a
Well,
little bit.
that's interesting. Like when I was in high school, I was already Air Force ROTC, but um, part of which led me into making my decision military was we had a bunch of kids who were refugees at my school, and my school was a sister city to Sarajevo, and so since we had so many kids who were coming from Bosnia, Croatia, Albania, Yugoslavia, we had a bunch of kids. I got to talk firsthand to a lot of kids who were refugees, and so hearing their stories, kind of made me, you know, feel protective, of them and want to be able to help out, and that led to part of it because I did go in with good intentions. Let everybody know. I know a lot of people get demonized now for being military, being former military, but just want to put that out there.
Yeah, no, it was a tragic situation back in the '90s. I mean, the only thing that was really holding that country together. By the way, beautiful socialist country, the very unique workers' unions pretty much came straight from there. Um, the only thing holding that together was Josip Broz Tito, Serbo-Croatian, but he was a communist leader that drove out the Nazis, and he took over with communism for the first time. I think that was the only reason why he was able to do that because everything was falling apart. But as soon as he died, I remember like uh, a couple of my relatives were like they basically just like took a look at each other and be like, okay, so when is everyone going to start killing each other again? 'Cause he's like literally the only thing that was like keeping that sense of unity. And I just think that's an interesting kind
We're
of
gonna have to talk more about this. I'm about to have you on for because normally on Sundays I normally have what I call my conversations, not really interviews, to go back and forth. And so my goal on that when I'm doing those kind of conversations in a sense is to kind of get a perspective from people that either lived in those countries, have ancestry from certain countries, and be able to get a better understanding. So, like so far, I've had two conversations with Guguletu Hughes from South Africa. I've had two conversations with Carl Za, who lives in Bali, who's of Chinese descent. And so I've been looking to, creep all the way around the world and talk to everybody in every country as much as possible. This week I was a little thrown off. I had some, like I told you before we hopped on, some ER issues earlier this week. Don't worry in the
oh
audience,
shit.
nothing major. I just had a
I hope
lot
you're
of,
okay.
yeah, I had two abscess on one side of my mouth and a lot of pain.
Jesus.
So I'm on painkillers as we speak right now. So
Okay.
I'm a little loopy.
You're lying, man. That's
I see Jira out there. Hey, Jira. And Wesley, my good friend. And then somebody said, hey to the vets. After further review with Steve Tower, my first time seeing Steve Tower in here, it looks like you have a show. And so, yeah, if you can, go ahead and drop the link in the chat, or any of my mods, can you guys look them up and drop this link in the chat? If so, over here, I always like to try to shout out every other content creators, especially if they come into the room. I see my boy Shadow Band here. Good to see you.
I know Shadow Band.
Tonight we got some fun topics. We are going to talk about Biden's addressing of the union and kind of go in depth on that. And we're going to get into Greg's video. Even though it's short, it's so sweet. It's so sweet. But I guess we can go on ahead and throw the intro up, and then we will come back on the other side of that. Let's see. Sorry, I normally would have this already up, but like I said, I am a little bit off right now. I also need to come up with a new intro at this point. All right.
We're here because you have a question that you need an answer to. Hello, and thank you for joining me.
This is the political matrix.
Bookmarks, because these words did not come from us.
Mostly kidding. Mostly.
Ham and the garlic aioli.
And then they're going to change the narrative to Black Lives Matter to all Black Lives Matter, and then they're going to talk about LGBT.
So I felt like I wanted to put a couple of clips together.
Seltzer all day long. I love that shit.
Doesn't matter where we are. We obviously came up in the house.
And you know how he treats them. He don't treat them nice at all. He real rough with them, and you was a good man.
Budget, so much more, are forming this weird cabal.
Yeah, it's not. None of them are.
Do the Chinese own part of that?
So he picked Masvidal. So I have Kobe tonight. Whether it's Biden, whether it's Obama, they're sitting up there.
There are people in the Green Party that can organize. No, they can organize. They usually just get blackballed by their own party too.
Taking orders from the private industry here.
You know, they come on here, they can say stuff they don't normally say on their own shows, which is fine.
Alrighty, and I see a couple more people have hopped in there. Jimmy, hello, Jimmy. Glad to see you in here. Yeah, abscesses are no joke. It literally felt like somebody hit me in the mouth with a hammer. Yeah, and my like I remember I've had one bad enough where they literally had to like cut a hole into my gums and put like tissue in there to kind of like squeeze some of the shit out. And you got to be careful with that because the stuff that comes out is actually toxic. So if you swallow it, it can make you even fucking more sick. So, thank goodness. And oh, for anybody out there, if you have an abscess and stuff like that, don't just try to muscle through it and just keep painkillers. Take your ass to the hospital or dentist or doctor, because if that stuff gets into your system, it can literally kill you. So just putting that information out there. I figure, we'll save Greg's video for later, because that's the good part. That's the juiciness. And then we'll get into old senile Biden. Greg, have you seen this yet?
I'm not familiar with it. I've probably seen clips on Twitter.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think it went maybe about 20 minutes long, so we'll probably do the whole thing. Actually, you know what? Before we even get into that, audience, Greg just brought me my attention to something. Maybe you guys have all been following it, but I have not been on top of it. Marianne Williamson, can you tell us what you've been seeing and hearing from Marianne Williamson? Because I've been seeing her name a lot.
Yeah, well, Marianne, she's pretty much stuck on the whole idle Democratic reformist gang. Well, she is a Democrat herself. I respect her for a lot of her spiritual principles and everything but the thing is, if you don't have the political awareness to match with that, you can't really. It just doesn't work. There's no, because she's a millionaire. She's comfortable.
Yeah.
She's not.
Oh, yeah.
She's not. She doesn't know what it's like to be.
Hold that thought 1 second. I forgot. I would be horrible if I did not mention this. We are live also on Indie Left's Rockfin. So if you are on Rockfin, if you prefer Rockfin, please take a hop over there now. I am going to go over to Rockfin right now so that I am following along with the comments over there. So I don't want anybody to feel like I miss you or don't see your comments, but please go over to Indie Left's Rockfin channel. Make sure you click the subscribe. Make sure you do that, and then give a like to us and some of the other content. Well, not some, all the other content creators over there. Don't be silly. So that said, sorry to interrupt you, Greg.
No worries. Marianne today, I mean, in particular, she's going off on some tangents today. I mean, I've seen her just today alone go against Fiorella, Franco, and it's all just back and forth arguments. I mean, I don't know if you want to like pull it up, but she like literally made a comparison to Hitler's rise to power, which is
really,
it's really kind of like disgustingly inaccurate. Let me see what she said.
Yeah, and if you pull it up before me, just let me know, and then I could share it on my screen. Just trying to get the there we go.
Yeah, and like this all like kind of comes together too, because I mean, Marianne Williamson, she's kind of part of that Breaking Point's crew, right? She's along with the Katie Halper gang and Crystal Ball and all of them, and these are all a set of people who never, not even one time, call for any sort of direct action throughout their entire career. They just keep voting blue over and over and over again. What's the definition of insanity? I'm pretty sure everyone knows.
Doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results.
Yeah, and we're it's not like, okay, if we were in 2015, I'd be like, okay, but we're past the Bernie era at this point.
Oh, way past.
Yeah, like
there he is. That's the reason why I put actually me at the Bernie thing. in the clip so people can know I used to be a Bernie supporter. I'm just not somebody who's just railing against. But glad to see we got our friend and our brother. Indy Left is in the building. How are we doing, sir?
Dude, what's up, boys? How you doing? Oh shit. This is sort of unexpected, but I'm thrilled to be here as always. Good to see you. It's good to see you guys. Crazy shit going on. So we were talking about, I literally, I wasn't even like watching it. I just got popped in. I was working on another project and Greg's like, you should be here talking about this. Like, okay, that's a good idea. Maybe I should do that. So,
I mean, you wrote like
are, man.
25% of the article.
And
me and Dissident worked on it together. So yeah, it's crazy. I was just talking about it actually with a couple of people. How much more there is there to it, and how we need to write follow-up pieces. And there is, again, Greg uncovered the whole Reid Hoffman thing, and it wasn't just Greg; it was Franco talking about how Reid Hoffman has been funding Crystal for a while, and he funded Shadow App. And I don't even know if he's still funding her, but still, if he's funded stuff for the last few years and there's a connection, there's phone calls, there's access, there's abilities to call, and that's where all this stuff starts. And that's where this all started triggering.
He helped it start. He helped it start. Plus, if they end up getting divorced in some kind of divorce settlement, she's going to have some Reid Hoffman money to go along with things. So
that's not her ex, is it?
Well, I don't know if yet, but I think she was actually married. No, is it Reid Hoffman she was married to, or I don't know. I know she's married to another wealthy gentleman who helped fund a lot of her stuff.
Yeah, no, but he was like a PayPal founder, LinkedIn guy. I'm not sure if that's who she's married to, but I know that there's a lot of again. Is he funneling money into these PACs because they align in again, and why is it that what's being said is aligning with what he's trying to do, which is right in line with what the DNC is trying to accomplish? I mean, you look how these things kind of line up, and you got to say what's going on here. So that's why we started to put this together, and then we started looking into the Hudson Institute, and that was a whole other can of worms. So who are those guys? Who are they funded by?
I'm gonna try to look up Reid Hoffman right now and see, because
so if you look up,
had a lot of involvement in the Alabama Senate race, and he actually had a hand in the Iowa caucus as well, which is why we're kind of want to put this all together.
I got it mixed up. That's not the one that's her husband. I'm getting it mixed up.
No, her ex-husband's like a venture capitalist, like friends with Mike Bloomberg and all them. Mm-hmm. But I mean, in terms of the article, I basically just wrote the part about Crystal Ball and made the video. So throughout looking through Crystal Ball, her scam pack in 2018 was funded by Reid Hoffman, who had a hand in the Iowa caucus results. So there's a lot of people. There's a couple of people here and there who are like, "Oh, why are you attacking other lefties? Is this productive? What are you guys trying to do?" Well, the point here is that if you're gonna say you support Bernie, at the very least, if you say that you support Bernie, why are you taking money from this guy?
Exactly. Well, I mean, this is the same woman who. She raised a ton of money during her bid to try to get into office, and then it was never talked about what happened to that large war chest she had. I don't know. I just thought that was always interesting.
I don't know how that works when you're done running for office. Sometimes that money's got to go back. Sometimes that money gets donated. I have no idea where it goes either. Legally, that's something we can certainly look into.
Legally, you can keep it, but I mean, what does that say about you morally if you decide to just keep it and you don't try to reinvest it into something? I mean, I would expect that the people who are big fans of, say, certain other candidates, if you're not going to run again, you can at least help turn that money over into other candidates who are going to try to run, which will go into those different issues. Here I got
See,
one.
I'm thinking like the dude in South Carolina who raised $95 million, Jamie, what's his name, and lost to Lindsey Graham last time. Like, where did all that money? I know a lot of it goes into spending on political ads, etc. But there's a war chest there for sure. And does that continue? Is he going to continue to run? Is it going to continue to fund that, or is it going to? Who knows what it funds? And yeah, that's certainly open to investigation and to question for sure, and something that we're going to tear into a little bit.
Oh yeah. This is Marianne's comment. One of her tweets. It says, "In a situation like this, if one is a F and one is a C minus D plus, I'm going to go with the C minus D plus." Plus, Build Back Better was a seriously good bill that would never in a million years have been passed by the Republicans. It was a good bill.
It was a corporate sellout. It was created by the World Economic Forum.
Yeah, I'm like, it was a good bill. That's what you call a good bill? That's what passes a good bill for you. Okay, all right. Marianne, sure. That's what we're saying here. Let's see this other one that we have here. Wow. Yeah, Shitlib was coming out completely. And let's put this other one on the screen.
She went wild today. She went absolutely wild.
Let's put this on
either that or yesterday.
I mean, I've been hearing a lot of people talking about Marianne Williams, and I see my boy Franco has one up about her. Inside / outside strategy. Oh wow, she really invoked the name Hitler. Wow.
She really invoked the Hitler card. She really did.
Hitler was democratically elected. If we put our focus either entirely on the inside or entirely on the outside, we fail. Either without the other is an inadequate response to the challenge. Andy, I want to hear your response to that first and foremost. Wow.
Yeah, well, Joe Biden was democratically elected too. Would be my first response to that. Yeah, I mean, look, yes, she's trying to play. Yes, this sounds a lot like, you know, this is the micro versus the macro versus the whatever, and and turn up the music, right? This is yeah, it's pretty gross. You know, look, it's really easy to say that, and yeah, thanks, Marianne. The inside, there is no inside game because the inside is playing to Nancy Pelosi's wishes, and we can't be doing that. The outside game is what they've been trying to crush, and why they've been passing all the police actions on the inside to stop people on the outside from doing the things that would actually make the people on the inside uncomfortable, and that's what's happened over the last couple of years. That's my immediate response is we need a lot more of the outside than the inside. They've been doing all they can to prevent and stymie and stall the outside. For the most part, direct action wise, I don't see a lot of these people honestly supporting direct actions or getting involved in direct action. And that is, you know, I do see a couple people covering it, amplifying and talking about people who are doing it, but also doing it in service of the Democratic Party and always pushing people back to Democrats. And what's the point? And again, is all of this a Williamson Turner 24 operation? And that's one of the questions that we need to ask.
No doubt in my mind, she's definitely running. I don't know about Turner, but she's definitely running.
Well, I'm thinking that they need a media outlet that's going to kind of start to put this ideation into people's heads. And it's really funny. The other thing that let's draw another parallel, and I don't want to this has nothing to do with this story here, but a friend of mine's been talking to me about the Netflix show Young Rock. Okay.
About the Rock when he's growing up.
Yeah, except what has he become? Do you know about the show? Like I don't know.
I've only seen clips.
Apparently,
I've only seen clips.
It's like a Zelensky freaking situation. He's going to become the president, and then this is like a sitcom about him as the president. All right, bro. Do you not see the parallels of what they're doing here? They made it happen there, and now they're going to turn around and try to make it happen here. How does anybody not see this? Just like they've been setting this up for years with movies, television, and everything. This is something that we've been talking about since you and I started talking, Marcus. And now I'm seeing it even more than ever before. It's like, oh my God, look at what happened with Top Gun. I mean, all of these.
I still haven't seen that yet, which I do need to check out. Even just
I haven't either,
propaganda's sake.
Right? Just to be able to counter it. And Jesse Jet does this whole song called Red Pill where he's like, I try to watch TV and all I see is propaganda everywhere. It's gorgeous. I love it. I actually started using that for our theme song for the 30-second trailers when we do our updates every day. So yeah, dude, I'm seeing that. And again, the narrative billionaire managers are what scares the crap out of me. Okay. That everything is in service of an agenda that we don't know who's behind and what their motivations are. And they're using every tool at their disposal, and they've got all the money in the world to do it. And that scares the shit out of me.
I don't know if you saw my last one with Google Letu, but what he said is, the same scenario you said with The Rock. A similar situation is being brought up with Trevor Noah in South Africa.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to make, he's like, don't be surprised if you see Trevor Noah become the future president of South Africa.
Holy shit. It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
And so they made
it third party. I'd vote for him if he ran third party.
Well, look at what we already have. I mean, I guess they found out. It worked with Zelensky. Boom. Trump. It worked with Trump. Okay, this formula works. Because the major thing to getting elected in the first place is name ID. If you got name ID, that's most of the battle.
Well, because elections they're not actually any sort of democratic process. It's just a popularity contest.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
I mean, this is you know what? Without further ado, let's just go on ahead and get to Greg's video, because this ties right in to all of this stuff. And these people, hello, I see Jira out there. I see Yipper, my good buddy out there. But man, and I'm gonna play it all the way through first, and then I want to play it a second time, and we could stop at a couple of points and break down some stuff, because it's so much in there. And if you're just watching it casually, you might miss some of the nuance that he's putting in there. But and again, Greg, excellent work here.
Thank you.
Let's see, where do I have it? Because I already had it pulled. Oh.
And our other INN brother, STFU Joe, Shitlib Joe, he put out a banger tonight a couple hours ago. I'll send you over. That also covered this, and you're gonna like that one too. But go ahead, put this one.
Please send it to me. Let's see. I'll leave it. I'll leave it on that one. Make it a little bigger, and let's go.
That's Ryan Gribbs. Somebody's criticizing AOC in the squad. I have to come shit on a random podcaster. I'm the DC bureau chief of the fucking billionaire-funded Intercept, and I still have to peruse in Twitter defending politicians against podcasters' accurate descriptions.
The Chinese are less likely now to invade because of the setbacks the Russians have experienced there. So that's why I think the war matters there. But the Defense Department, the White House, they are doing a great job.
Just what we already know, that Republicans are terrible.
What I tell people is, if you have a conscience, you will vote third party for the rest of your life, because how dare you vote for these people?
In 2020, I voted for Biden.
Joe Biden, a racist, warmongering puppet and tool of Wall Street and an enemy of the workers, and somehow you're going to pat yourself on the back and you're a good person.
I think Donald Trump is a danger. I think he's terrible. I also know that I'm a white person saying this. But Hillary Clinton is not slam dunk 100% better that I, as an individual, can in good conscience vote for this.
There seems to be a laser focus on one party. Flanders, earmuffs.
Here you saying, David, is you're giving an out for them to not do this, and that's
No, I'm
disappointing.
not giving them an out.
Yeah,
I'm
you
saying I don't know the answer to when push really came to shove. If you said, I want these things that you really don't want to do, and that those lawmakers should then vote in the way that we're talking about to elect Kevin McCarthy speaker. Just as a human being,
As a human
I
being,
don't
you're
know what the right
misframing
call
this.
is at the
You
end of the
keep,
day.
as a human being, you keep misframing the issue.
She can't get 218 Democrats, then there's no speaker.
Right.
And then it kicks back to the caucus, and then it's chaos, and then a whole bunch of people can run, and then somebody will emerge. Somebody would emerge from that process.
As he points out, you don't get Kevin McCarthy as speaker.
But as long as we're not arming the Azov battalion, I have no problem arming Ukraine in general so that they could protect themselves from Russian aggression.
Ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history.
They are very comfortable and okay with multipolarity. I mean, they've laughed at me.
So what is that? So what is multipolarity?
Right. So they've laughed at me when I'm like, God, we'll be doomed to Europe. And they're like, oh, well, in Europe, they have healthcare. I'm like, yeah, but they also have no say over the global affairs of the world. I want to write the affairs of the world, the rules of the road. I want to be the only blue water navy.
Wow. Yeah. Let's go to comments first, and then we're gonna go back into this, and we're gonna break this down because I'm watching the chat and they're going crazy on this. I mean, let's see, Bobby says, "Ew, no lip Sorota," and Big Mad Crab says, "Sorota going in for the kiss, literally, not figuratively." I mean,
RBN used that picture too. It's just so hilarious. It's the first Google image of him too.
I mean, I'll back up for a moment and let you gentlemen give you. Let's see, did Jack come in here? Hey, Jack, how we doing, brother?
Yeah.
But I want to hear you gentlemen's thoughts on it, and like Greg, like what you were thinking when you were putting all this together, because I can kind of it alludes to your thought process and some of this stuff, but I want to go through this thing piece by piece.
Yeah, so it really started. I mean, as soon as Breaking Points announced the network, me, Indy, and the Dissident pretty much got together in a group chat, decided that we're going to put something together on this. Doing some research alone, you're kind of able to find that there are this circle of people is all sort of coming from the same place. Now, I put Pierre Omidar in the beginning. He's not funding all of them, but he has a huge hand in the Intercept and a little bit of Stoller. So the ideas of these people, I mean, it's pretty much entirely fit for one narrative, and you come soon to find out that most of them are pretty much funded by billionaires.
Mm-hmm. I mean, without
what's funny is that a lot of it links back to the PayPal group, the eBay PayPal group. Pierre Omidyar was Reid Hoffman's boss at eBay.
Yeah, and Reid Hoffman is doing some research on Crystal. And in the article, Crystal, she's funded by. She had that 2018 financial corruption scandal that just completely washed over. No one talks about. No one is even concerned about that. But it was essentially a pact to fund working class, quote unquote, working class Democrats. And she ended up taking all of the money and running. She gave less than 3% of the money to actual candidates.
No, it was $48,000 she gave out. She paid herself a $247,000 salary over a couple of years. We've got the screenshots in the Substack. I actually said I'll put a link in the private chat, Marcus, if you want, for the Substack.
Yeah.
And all the receipts and everything that we were able to kind of pull together publicly were there. We're going to continue to do more of a dive into this, and we've got more here. That we haven't published yet. That we've got we've got follow up material for here, and we're working on a follow up already for this. And we've got another video that Joe put out. He's been working on a couple things. He actually references some of the things inside the video from the Substack. So we got that running. We don't want to see corporate influence take over independent media and then again, what bothers me most about all of this is don't sell yourselves as independent media when you're in the end backed at some, not even, and it doesn't even have to be directly, but you're relatively funded or too close to these billionaire influencers for my comfort, at least, to be considered and classified as independent. Again, we're gonna be talking about specifically how they fund potentially. It's not publicly known, and we're not looking to out anybody's personal privacy. Somebody was like, "Oh, why don't you bring names and receipts?" And it's like, because that's not what we do. I mean, we're going to show you all of everything that's surrounding them and say, look, you have to understand who's influencing what and why. The fact that some of these people are working with the Hudson Institute and they're still drawing a paycheck throughout this entire year that they were quote unquote bootstrapping Breaking Points. Where does that fit into the whole equation? There's just a lot of questions that we have.
There we go.
And they need to be asked.
Well, let's see. I'll
So
bring it up. I'll bring it up big.
Hey, go ahead. We really didn't see anybody else talking about much of this. And then it's really funny because RBN started talking about it as well. And
yeah,
Stabby had the angle on Sirota and his finances. And we kind of brought what's going on here. And, it just kind of all works together because we all work so closely and well together to begin with. It's just funny that we were going for different parts of the story without even knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this deserves a follow up because we didn't get to touch on Sirota. Even Jordan Sheridan, like he brags constantly about his work over at Standing Rock and Flint, but it's not like he's doing this for free. He's not just doing it out of the kindness of his heart.
Oh, hell no. I mean, that's part of why I just like, if it's something where he doesn't think he's going to be able to make bank off of it, he doesn't want to talk about it. And so I've reached out to Jordan to talk about various different issues. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'll look into that if I have time, and then completely blew it off. In fact, I'm going to put that into the chat here. So wait a minute, what the heck? That is not what I wanted to do. Sorry. I'm not the greatest in technology. So let's see. Why does it keep saying that?
These people frame themselves as being anti-corporate, yet they're taking corporate money like it's no big deal.
Well, I mean, that's what good hypocrites do, right?
Oh yeah.
Again, even if they're relative, yeah. Again, I'm not exactly sure. My speculation is either they had socked away enough cash to be able to self-fund for the entire year and float it, which
there we go,
totally plausible. Wow, look at that. I'm not following my own network, really. Okay, Twitter is definitely messing with you guys. All right, except that I got unfollowed because I'm looking at this and it's saying that I should follow INN. I would think that I would be following INN, but that's wow. Okay.
Out of anybody that would be following INN, I'm pretty sure you would probably be the number one person there. And how on top of things you are as far as helping out content creators and following your own and helping promote. I don't see where you would have missed that.
No, that definitely got an unfollow somehow. So definitely start checking on some of your key sources to see if you got unfollowed. Yeah, that was my regular IND Left News on Twitter. I just looked, and I'm looking at the article that Greg just sent over, and on the right it says relevant people, Indie News Network, follow with a white button. What? Because I'm in reverse mode. So what? Okay. Thanks, Twitter. They're definitely messing with some people lately.
If they're being, Wesley says, if they're being offered corporate money, their takes are apparently attractive enough to corporate leadership. I can tell
That's
you
all that matters.
I can tell you something that happened to me, and they could deny it all they want. But one of my videos that got taken down, it literally blasted stuff which was said on TY. I mean, not TYT. No, they seem the same to me at this point. But breaking points, I criticized something that they were talking about, and then literally maybe about 2 days later, Sagar made kind of a walk back of some of the stuff that he said in that original video, and then my video got taken down right after that. So I was like, that's interesting. Okay, coincidence, that could possibly happen. And then it happened again to another video I did right after that. So I noticed somebody who works for Breaking Points somewhere is obviously monitoring, anybody who pushes back against them. And so if you say anything that they could possibly twist or take or use these weird, YouTube guidelines, they'll go after you.
And the COVID stuff too. I mean, I know plenty of channels.
That's one of the things they got me on. Even though I used something which was actual math, simple math off of the numbers that were given, and I gave the actual percentage of people affected by trying to be careful, Steven, how I say this now, but I put the actual percentage of how many people, according to their numbers, out of the American population were actually affected. I mean, actually tested positive at that time. Even though my numbers were entirely correct and even matched up with the CDC, I still got a strike for that video and it taken down. So
you can't even agree with public institutions anymore. You just can't talk about it. YouTube is just doomed to be fucking cat videos and fucking replays of TikToks. That's all it's going to be.
It's not just cat videos; it's mainstream media, and that's what we were showing. And I saw that there was a fair statistic from Fair Media Watch, Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, and it was like 75% of the stuff being pushed on YouTube and being viewed was corporate media.
Yeah,
and that's because that's what they're pushing, and that's what they're suggesting is alternates all the time, and independent media has been effectively erased from YouTube, and what they're pushing as independent media is the Hill Rising, okay, as alternative viewpoints, which isn't really an alternative viewpoint at all. It's within a scope of an acceptable narrative, and it doesn't touch on quite a few things. Specifically regard to the scam of the environmental stuff. Now they're starting to touch on World Economic Forum stuff, but how much of that Great Industrial Revolution, Fourth Industrial Revolution, Great Reset stuff's already in motion, where it would have been really helpful to have them reporting on it 2-3 years ago. Now they're kind of allowed to report on it a little bit.
Well, that's what they do. Once it's too late to actually be able to push back against any of the stuff, that's when you can talk about it. After it's already done. Like, for instance, you go into the Big Pharma release on all the documents and stuff. Back when they were saying, just take it, shut up, don't worry about if you lose your job. And then later on, then they start coming out with all this paperwork on side effects and all these things, which people were talking about, which if you were in many other European countries, they were admitting to all of these different side effects and things. But over here, stateside, you can't get away with any of that stuff. And so maybe even on social media platforms, you were being scrutinized, but the regular newspapers and television stations in these other countries were admitting this stuff on air. But since
they wanted 75 years too.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh no, go ahead.
Brought to you by Pfizer and Moderna. I mean, that's why Pfizer bought the news, right?
I showed that, and then it kind of got passed over, kind of in a blip. But that German billionaire who bought Politico, and like all these different policies that he was forcing on his reporters, like you can't go against this narrative that we've set, literally, literally controlling. And people always say, well, sometimes editors block this content or block that content. This is a case where they're literally saying on a certain issue, you are going to be, why am I skirting around it? You're going to be pro-Israeli, and anything Palestinian is a no-no. Anything talking that Israel is doing anything bad against the Palestinians is a no-no. Hey, Thomas.
This is part of the game too. Like, the American news media cycle is so fast. It's like a week by week. Like, there's a school shooting every week. There's always shit going on. Either whether it's like COVID stuff, Roe v. Wade. It's always a narrative that's shaped by, first and foremost, the mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
And they get to kind of decide, okay, what's the story for this week? And they're making money off of this too. It's not like they're doing this for shits and giggles or just to confuse people.
Yeah, the
sensationalism alone is like what's gonna make you
guys. We're not making money off this. I'm telling you now, we are not making money off this. We're not doing this for profit. We're not doing this for revenue. That's we're doing this to expose the corruption in media so that we actually get an honest view of what's actually happening, and we know the biases and the spins and the reason why people are saying what they're saying. That's why we're doing this, because there's a lot of people that are saying, like, are you trying to become corporate media? No, we don't want to become corporate media. We want to expose corporate media. We want to take down corporate media, because that's what's controlling the narrative for the Biden administration. It's what's controlling the narrative so that it's now setting up NATO versus BRICS. It's setting up narratives against China. And we want to be able to at least identify where it's coming from on both sides. Is this being funded by by a government? Is this being funded by a corporation? Is it a combination of both? We need to know this stuff. And who's able to dig through and find it without a motivating factor of they're being influenced by this one or that one, and truly independent of any of that. It's becoming harder and harder. That's what the Intercept was originally founded with the idea of doing. But then you had the neoliberal invasion of Betsy Reed and James Risen and all these other national security state people. Again, look at what they've done to MSNBC. It's crawling with Bush administration people and CIA and ex-FBI guys. And it's like, there's no respite anywhere. And again, we keep talking about the same thing. So what are we doing? We're building our own media enterprise, and without calling out and identifying exactly where the corruption is inside both the independent and in the corporate media structure.
I mean, Angelica brought up a good point, and so seriously, the masses that follow the Johnny Depp trial are so angry with the MSN is lying. Well, here's my point, and even bringing that up, they want us focused on that trial. Why even be focused on that trial when there's so many other things that are going on? I mean, and part of that is deflected. Yeah. Keep us distracted from all the crap that's going on. I mean, literally, Biden's presidency is like falling apart right now on damn near every topic. But the goal is, if we can just kind of get you off of it and stop paying attention to it. COVID was the Democrats thought that they had this lane cornered, and they thought they were doing all the right things. And then the polling started coming out that it wasn't doing so well. And then you've seen them slowly walk back and into the corner away from after they tried to force this. Then what did you see after that? They started on voting rights. Oh, let's try voting rights. That'll work. Yeah, even though we said we were going to do all this stuff for the black voters who came out and helped get you elected, let's not do anything. And then once you start seeing the poll numbers start dropping and dropping and dropping, hey, well, we got to do the voting rights and stuff for black people. And then it's the student loan stuff that was talked about. Didn't do any of that. And so now you start trying to, well, maybe we can do this or do that. And then you see that's not working. And then you push on to Russia, Ukraine. Oh, we have to, because they always go back to military. If they get in trouble, they figure, well, if we have a good war, everybody can bond behind that. Well, that didn't work. So now what are they moving on to? Then it goes on to Roe v. Wade. Let's at least try to get them with the abortion stuff. That's always worked. Now that's not working. So what are we gonna do now? Johnny Depp trial. Distract.
I mean, popular culture. Yeah. To me, the whole Russia Ukraine thing, a lot of that is they ended Afghanistan, and now they need the way to funnel the $780 billion that was approved for the military. Where's that going to go now? How are they going to continue to fund defense contractors when they're not doing Afghanistan public? Using the army and the armed forces. Now we're doing it more outsourcing through private entities. We're not able to use the defense money for that. So what I see there is them trying to drum up money to keep the war machine going so they can keep the donors happy. And again, firing squad. That's what they put the Ukrainians in.
Well, Americans
in
don't pay
position of.
attention
It's
to
terrible.
foreign policy. Americans never pay attention to foreign policy.
No.
And so they figure, well, we can just tell you guys what the story is and you're going to go with it. But what they haven't realized is over these last 2 years with the COVID stuff, a lot more people have started paying attention to what the hell is actually going on around them. And I feel like maybe it's partially because they had time. Like, I honestly believe, like, if you go back to the 60s and you had like the civil rights era, you had LGBTQ fights, you had feminism, you had all these things going on, and the elites got together and were like, wait a minute, all these people are complaining about all this stuff. We need to get these motherfuckers busy again. And so what happened? The one income household, that kind of went away. So now you had to have two incomes. So now you got mom and dad working and taking the kid off, to some kind of daycare or something. And so now everybody's working so much, you don't have as much time to pay attention. And then they put the nightly news right at that perfect time when everybody gets off work so they can program you on what you should care about. And it's been working for the past, 40, 50 years? Now it's all starting to fall apart, I feel. Let's see. I'll get that. Got one other clip up here that I wanted to share that you guys had. This one, I guess.
See, the other thing that worries me that I uncovered when I was looking at that crystal ball pack is they gave $18,000 to Perkins Coie.
Yes.
Who's Perkins Coie?
And like
that's the Hillary Clinton law firm that Michael Sussman worked for.
Oh wow!
And Reid Hoffman's a huge Russiagator too.
Oh wow! Guess somebody's car's going up.
Both Crystal and Cigar are both funded by billionaires, and that now they're bringing in the Intercept. Now Cigar's podcast, Realignment. Marshall Koslov is another sketchy character.
Very sketchy.
And look,
I don't even know how much they're bringing them in. That's my question: is how much are they bringing them in? They don't necessarily even have to. That again, it's an alignment. It's a friendship. It's similar in some ways to INN without being more official. I'm wondering. So it seems like some of the people in the logos and the outlets were almost taken by surprise that they were mentioned on this thing. For the 1 year anniversary stream, which is kind of interesting in itself, and that's something that might even end up in the follow-up piece. But and again, something that we need to dig a little further into. But I don't know how much they're necessarily. It's circling all around them, and that's the problem. Is it necessarily directly funded? I don't know. But when projects that they're involved with and institutes that they're involved with have deep ties to these people, you've got to start to ask questions, and that's what we're doing. So, yeah, please show Joe's video. It absolutely killed me today, and he's got elements from the article in it. So,
okay,
I'm psyched to see this.
Yeah, let's see this.
Hey guys, it's Crystal.
And Sagar, we have an amazing announcement for you. We are starting a brand new, totally independent show. Could not be more excited about it. We want to compete with CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. They've got endless resources, but we've got you.
If you haven't canceled your Breaking Points subscription to, I don't know what you're doing. Get on it. These people are literally like promoting economic warfare and real warfare with China. Should not be giving them your money.
That's something else that we're really proud of is that the audience has really different views across the entire spectrum.
No one's actually holding these fucks accountable because they brainwashed their entire audience into thinking that we should be going to war with China.
Breaking Points has been in a network with most of the same issues as corporate media, and he says got to give the viewers of Breaking Points what they want. So who is the viewers? This is a question they've asked. If China were to invade Taiwan, would you support the United States coming to Taiwan's defense?
Yeah, that's a right-wing China.
57% said yes.
Now we are able to partner with all of these great people.
Shut the fuck up, Sagar.
So that's the main graphic for everybody together. Breaking Points asked the guy that's against forced to vote. What is happening over here with Breaking Points? Just weird, like, conflicts of interest of him pushing the Democratic Party, and he happened to be married to a Democrat. And then there was one video I was watching when he was like, "Yeah, I know some Democrats," and I paused it, Nick. I paused it, Rome, and I was like, "What do you mean you know so many Democrats? You're fucking a Democrat." Yeah. Breaking Points as the team who censored Glenn Greenwald, and Sabrina, aka Savvy Sad, she put a right comment up for this next graphic.
Oh, that's savage.
Okay.
Go fuck yourself, you fucking egghead nerd. I don't give a fuck about your committee shit. Why don't you stop saying that stupid shit?
That's directed at Matt.
It's a tumultuous time. It's a sad time, and it's a dangerous time. But there is not a reason to give up on the fact that every day, the harder we work and the more people that we expand and more, that we actually can change with the status quo. You know, change feels like it's not happening, and then it happens all at once.
Shut the fuck up, Sagar.
What does this say to you? Does this scream revolution? Does this scream this scream urgency?
We want to continue to upgrade this studio. We need to fix some of the lights.
Shut the fuck up. Again, Sagar is
That's golden.
a hack who comes from the Hudson Institute, which is one of the most anti-China conservative think tanks on the planet.
So look, guys, if you can help us out, you know, I know how hard you guys work, and I know how hard it is out there, inflation and all that.
Shut the fuck up, Sagar.
We need to fix some of the lights.
Shut the fuck up, Sagar.
You know, if you're used to consuming mainstream news content and you're not used to watching YouTube shows, and you see something that has, you know, a more minimalist background or more casual vibe to it, then I think there is a natural instinct to be like, that's not serious. That's not real.
They have 80,000 people subscribed to them right now. Think of the minds that they are poisoning. Think about all the rage that people have built up inside of them that they are keeping down. They are wetting out people's fire.
And if you can really support us, become a founding member. It's a one-time payment of $50.
Shut the fuck up, Sagar.
So fuck Marshall, fuck Kyle, fuck all these people. These people are our opposition, and we need to treat them like so.
Shut the fuck up, Sagar.
Who are these people?
Wow. It's something that I wanted to say. I don't know if anybody noticed this or not. I mean, I normally, those in my audience know that I normally find like little small details. Their background, just in general. They use a normal desk, like a news desk. And then they use like a brick wall as the background. And the reason why they're doing that is because it makes it look like, you know, we're more down the earth. We're more blue collar. I'm telling you, somebody sat there and thought about every bit of that set. How do we look more mainstream
They have a whole
and
team.
also come across to look more blue collar and down with the people? I see Colin out there. Hey, Colin, one of these days I need to get you on here too. But yeah, I had not seen that yet. Man, there's so much that
fire
I could go in, and shout out to RBN. They nailed it. I mean,
dude, killer.
I remember I tried to give just a little bit of a watch because on The Hill, I would occasionally watch The Hill, so that was the most I could tolerate any kind of pseudo mainstream. And so I figured, they were okay on The Hill. They were shitty a lot of the time, but I could at least, you know, try them out on Breaking Points. And I'm like, how did they go from The Hill to the Breaking Points and get fucking worse? They say that they're not, you know, that they're not controlled by any kind of corporate media, but how do you sound more corporate media after you leave corporate media? I don't understand that part.
Yeah, I covered this. I really like what Robert Durden said. I mean, it feels like the consolidation of all these networks. It's not necessarily about money right? It's about the access because a lot of these channels are dying, and they need the Breaking Point subscriber base in order to keep their shit alive. Kyle Kalinski's dying. He's slowly going to the grave, and even shit lives like Progressive Voice are talking about this. So
and a shout out to Lucy from Blue Moon Red Wine and Robert Durden out there, because I know those two have been taking a hatchet to Kyle every chance that they can get. So keep up the good work. I'll say that much. I remember when I first noticed Kyle's commentary, really, I was like, this motherfucker take the bag, because he really switched up really quickly on the way he was covering things and how, in fact, let's go on ahead and pull yours back up, because I said that I wanted to go through it bit by bit because there were so many things that I saw in there, and I wanted to point them out. I'm not saying that the audience might not have caught them, but just going to give you guys my observation.
Sure.
Let's do it. We need new lights.
Let's see.
That's great.
All right. One of the first things that I noticed right there, they already had they brought Marshall over from him coming on the Hill. I noticed OC Frimpong, he came over. He goes over occasionally, but I noticed he hasn't been back over there quite in a while, and I'm wondering why. So we'll leave that. We'll put a bun in that and leave that for later. But Marshall is like best friends with Sagar, so we know his ass is going to be on there. Plus, you have to have at least one black guy. If you don't, then you're going to be called out for racism. So they keep him there just for that alone, and he has no problem, obviously, with being a token. Which, shout out to Savvy, that was savage. Good. I mean, excellent work by RBN again. This guy right here, I love to click in and watch what he's saying on the Hill, because this is how you know he's being deceptive. Every single opportunity he has where he could spin the narrative or throw in that reasonable doubt, just like a lawyer, he does it on issues where like for instance, all this COVID stuff, he has been the number one person to always find a way to spin it back to, trust the science type people. This is a guy whose always goal is to keep everything on the narrative. And what he'll do is he'll throw out a little bit of criticism here and there, but overall keep guiding you back to the Democratic Party in that they're the best option no matter what. And if they didn't have Kim on there, which Kim has her issues herself too. And I mean, I'll just say it. For one, Kim, if you ever hear this, you are fucking horrible when it comes to race issues. Horrible, the worst takes ever. And you should just probably not comment on it at all. But on some of this foreign policy stuff, on not trusting the government, you're good. But race stuff, you're fucking horrible.
Well, and she had weird takes on COVID. She was really, really pro Sweden and the way that Sweden was handling things early on. And she was just full. And again, Sweden gives healthcare to everybody. How do you compare what's going on here with what's going on in Sweden? And I love you, and I love the fact that, with your numbers and looking at that. Yeah, I saw about.
Hey, SM.
If you want to pull up that tweet, I just posted in the chat. That's what Colin's talking about.
Oh, what Colin's talking about?
Yeah, Jimmy was saying that they deceptively and selectively edited something to make it look like he was saying something that he wasn't, which
it made it seem like Jimmy wasn't getting the joke about attacking Susan Sarandon. David Sirota making a joke about Susan Sarandon, and in the full context, he clearly gets the joke and he recognizes that it's a joke. He just says, "This motherfucker's going to tell you to keep voting blue."
Of course, that's what they all do. I mean, I brought up not that long ago. I said, is Breaking Points the new TYT? And that's a video I did like a couple months back. And it's funny, you guys are everybody. I mean, because this is what they are doing. They are really trying to fill that TYT lane. And I see Reefer in here. Reefer After Dark. What's up, brother? Good to see you here.
Hey.
But I mean, and maybe I might have to go ahead and clip some parts out of that one, which I did and reposted, because I made some different points, but they coalesce with what I'm seeing in your video and what I saw RBN do. I mean, and another thing is, if you look at TYT, look at what they're doing on their live numbers. Their live numbers are basically the same as Breaking Points when they do a premiere. So what we know
they're getting crushed.
What we know is a lot of people are just haven't went back in, and I suggest everybody should do this every now and then. Go do what we call subscriber maintenance. Go look at your subscribers on YouTube and go see which channels you're still subscribed to, and go and unsubscribe to a lot of that shit. I mean, there's point, like I remember when some of these I've like clicked the notifications off and then realized, oh wait a minute, I didn't completely unsubscribe. I need to go unsubscribe. And some of the shit, even after you unsubscribe, they're still going to keep, promoting their videos. That's how you know that this algorithm is really geared towards certain people. Let's see, Colin says,
well, again, and not only that, but I go back to in November, it was announced that Reid Hoffman and George Soros were combining to spend $500 million on something called Good Information Inc. that was broken by Alex Rubinstein at the Gray Zone. And is any of that Good Information Inc. money starting to flow out and disseminate? There's a lot of questions that need to be asked and things that need to be looked into. And this was just, again, the opening chapter of something that we're going to continue to stay on, because again, we can't have people representing themselves as independent media and taking up the lane in the space of independent media. We had that with TYT for too long, and now we're seeing it emerge again. The Hill has been trying to take this, even though they're Washington establishment, they still take this tack of, well, we're kind of independent of everybody else, even though they're totally corporate funded. They give off this veneer that they are down the middle. Again, the Associated Press drives me nuts. How much narrative management the Associated Press and Reuters and how they can help put out a story and a narrative. I mean, look at what happened with the Brett Renaud murder and how he was killed in Ukraine, and the story that was put out, the official narrative immediately was that Russian snipers had killed him, and that he was killed by like some kind of a Russian drone. As it turns out, it was by small arms fire in the back, and they had just gone through a Ukrainian checkpoint. It was definitely questionable. And again, we're seeing these narratives. The more that I cover the stuff, the more I see people falling for it, and you've got to be ever vigilant and looking at sources that you don't necessarily, and looking for new sources all the time. I saw Jimmy Dore the other day had Moon of Alabama up, and kudos to Jimmy for finding that. But they've been doing some phenomenal coverage on war maps and looking at where people are and where the fronts are, taking it from French intel and from intel across the world, and not just taking the State Department talking points that are provided to you by Bellingcat and the UK, and that's who's pushing their talking points on The Intercept. Those talking points are making it from Bellingcat to The Intercept to Breaking Points, and that's where we're calling this out.
Yep, and I wouldn't be surprised as you see them start to tick up a little bit more if you see TYT start kind of molding to that to try to catch up, because that's what I see going on. And let's not forget about what's his name over there, Minority Report. because
Majority,
it seems like yeah.
Oh,
majority of-
Sammy.
they seem like they're a little bit more aware of what the hell's going on around them and trying to start changing what the ground is shifting, even though it's clearly obvious to anybody can see it. And it's funny you mentioned Soros earlier, because Soros did the same thing with the Black Lives Matter movement. You know,
Right?
it completely, you know, it turned into complete liberal virtue signaling. That's it. And you know, that was their goal. We can't actually do anything. So what we got to do is we got to break this thing down and just make it a talking point. And let's turn it into stickers and something for people's Twitter bios. Well, let's not have any actual real teeth in it. Let's seem like we're for it. That's the goal. Yes.
I mean, that's a Democratic Party. I mean, 100%. That's that defines the neoliberal Democratic Party. It's put a veneer on it, make it seem like you're doing something, but in the end, nothing fundamentally changes because it serves the donor class.
And I know there's
we have to wake
Greg,
people up to.
What you said about Sagar's college, that he went to a pro-Israel college. I did not know that. And then Colin follows up, says, yeah, Sagar went to GWU, so yeah, sketchy shit happens at that school.
I was just reading about Rami actually was talking about how the endowments that GW has an endowment of, I think it's $1.9 billion to Howard, Howard's 850 million, which seems like a lot, but apparently isn't even barely enough to keep the lights on and fix the mold problems that are in the buildings, according to Blackburn Takeover from last year. Mm-hmm. So, you know, these historically black colleges are underfunded compared with the endowments, and then people are wondering what's happening in these again, and it's all connected because the wealthy alumni, et cetera, and it's
another lens of control. A lot of people don't realize most of these black universities were started by, in fact, one of them is named after the lady who started most of these. Her name was Spelman Rockefeller. That's who funded a lot of these black universities. The wife of Rockefeller, the same person who I would say easily at this point now it's probably less so, but it was at one point easily 75% of our textbooks were Rockefeller funded. And so it's kind of interesting, you know, they always say, you know, if you can get the minds early enough, you can control the people. And that's what these people constantly did, try to find a way to always stay ahead and control the narrative on everything.
One of my buddies, who's not in the space at all, but you know, we talk about politics. He goes, you know what? And he used the George Carlin line. I didn't even know it was a George Carlin line. We got smart bombs and dumb kids. Smart bombs and dumb kids. That's exactly how this country wants it, man. Smart bombs and dumb kids.
Well, that's
American education is indoctrination.
Well, I did. I showed it. What was it? I wonder if I could pull up that clip. I'll try to see later on if we have time. But I brought it up last week about George Carlin because a lot of people, they will use George Carlin, and the left loves to use George Carlin. This is a big old club, and you're not in it. But they forget the next part he talks about right after it. When he talks about the owners. The owners don't want you to. The owners don't want you to do anything, and they're going to keep control of this. They control. I can go on a rant, but I'm gonna try to stop myself.
I think we could both do that one verbatim, dude. I love that one. Absolutely. You know, they want you smart enough to operate the equipment, but dumb enough not to question what the hell's going on with the system, and then completely this is disappearing and this is disappearing, and then you go for your pension, and now they're coming for your Social Security, and they'll get it. I can do the whole thing too, man.
Yep.
And they're gonna get it too.
Keep you distracted from that red, white, and blue dick that's getting shoved up your ass.
Oh, dude, awesome! I love it. I love it. Marcus and I do George Carlin. We should get Reef in here too. He could do the same thing too. It's great.
I mean, because I remember I used to listen to it and I found it entertaining. And then later on, when I went back to it as I was older, I truly got the grasp of the true level of it. And I think some people get it, but they don't truly get it. Because if you're quoting Carlin, you can't truly be having belief that you're going to be able to do anything to change the system. Because then that would be antithetical to what Carlin is actually even talking about.
And to invoke Carlin, like Carlin,
even
was
though
a
he changed the
full-on
system.
anarchist. Like
He changed the
he changed
system,
comedy
man. Just
forever.
Well, he made us aware
What's
of
that?
the system.
He changed comedy forever. No one ever
Oh,
put
yeah.
politics into comedy before him.
Yeah, he made us aware of the system. That's what I'll say. He was, but as far as changing the system, I mean, like I brought up last week, if you decide, okay, well, I'm going to pick whichever one of these third parties and run with it. They already own the judges. They already own most of the legislators. You know how easy it is for them to just put a new law in and say, okay, well, all of a sudden you got to meet this standard. You got to meet that standard and then keep you out of it. And then we already know if you try to go through the Democratic Party, they can literally say, okay, well, you didn't get any votes. You didn't win this state or that state. You got no delegates. But you know what? We're just going to make this person the nominee. They literally have the power to do that. They just haven't done it yet because they know that it would be the gig would be up. So what they do is they got to have some veneer that there's actually choice there. They have to give you that illusion of choice. And many people keep falling back into it and thinking, we're going to take this system that was built on corruption, lies, manipulation, and we're going to go in and we're going to take it over. Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm pessimistic.
The illusion of choice is half my job, honestly, because I'm in sales, and half the time what you want to do is present people with two options, and either one that they pick, you win. That's pretty much how they rate how you rig a game. Do you want to do it this way or you want to do it this way? Either way, you make it so that it's beneficial for everybody, or as beneficial for everybody involved, and everybody wins no matter what they pick.
I mean,
that's what they're trying to do.
Literally, when they come to the presidents for options, like something happens and they're like, okay, well, how are you going to respond? Literally, they come to the president with three different options: a heavy response, a medium response, and a light response. And they ask the president, which one of these do you want to take? Not realizing, like the president not realizing, because most presidents don't know shit about foreign policy when they get in, that the light response is already a heavy response. And so all it is heavy, heavy, heavier. But most presidents don't know shit about anything but domestic policy, just like most Americans don't know anything about domestic policy. So since the president, literally like 80% of their job, maybe 85% of their job is foreign policy, they're literally being dictated to by the State Department, the Pentagon, and by DOD, Homeland Security. These are the people who are basically running our country. And so the Hillary Clintons of the world are still running everything. I mean, if we saw anything from that recent case, how much in cahoots they are literally with the freaking FBI.
Still. Yep. How nothing fundamentally changes. And in the end, again, Epstein didn't kill himself. We know that. Wesley Donaldson, I'm totally with you, man. Vinyl, Cheech and Chong. We used to play the I had it on cassette personally, but Dave's not here, dude. Dave's not here. How often we used to do Dave's not here? We got the stuff, man. I got the stuff.
Let's get in here. It's so much more.
Hit
It's so
it,
much
hit it,
more
go
meat
ahead.
in here.
Criticizing
Yeah, it's good
AOC
stuff,
and the
dude.
squad.
Crab did
I
awesome.
have to come shit on a random podcast.
I'll be right back.
I'm the DC bureau chief of the fucking billionaire-funded Intercept, and I still have to peruse in Twitter defending politicians against podcasters' accurate descriptions.
People like this. I stopped it right here because in actuality, I've been going back and forth with people about China, especially since I just had recent interviews on China. And what I get from majority of these people is, well, you didn't go with China about this, and you didn't go with them about that. In Western media, we already hear everything bad about China all the damn time. Do I really need to bring somebody who is speaking for things that are going on in China and just berate him on everything in the West that we believe is bad with China, what would be the point of even having him on there if that's the case? Because you have people like Marshall here, and I mean, literally, it doesn't matter if it's right wing, left wing, whatever. They all are against China. All you hear is negative of China. So what would be the point, literally, of even saying any of that stuff if I'm going to have somebody on? And why would somebody expect for somebody who is looking at positive things, or it's benefited them in China, for them to come on and just spend the whole time shitting on their own country? Yes, Baba Yaga, they want us afraid of China being a superpower. That's exactly what they want.
And part of the neocon agenda too is to play this game of whatever world affairs are going on, whatever foreign policy issue or debate happens within the global sphere. We have to become this America Defense Rescue Mission where we're coming in and sending a bunch of tanks and military, and it's all the only people who are really benefiting are military contractors.
Yep,
we don't get the money off those weapon contracts; they do.
I see Chris in the building. What's up, Chris? And it was good having you on here. Got to have you back on here again, too. Chris says, hey, comrades, Dems cover for Republicans keeping the country going right. Team A and Team B. John Stockwell, CIA whistleblower. I literally call it the Washington Generals versus the Harlem Globetrotters. They're pretending that they're losing. And the Globetrotters would definitely have to be the Republicans. The Democrats get in there and they fumble around, they get nothing done. And they're like, oh, the Republicans are stopping this, the Republicans this, while we watch the country keep going more and more and more to the right. But let's get into Mr. Kozlov's comments.
The Chinese are less likely now to invade because of the setbacks the Russians have experienced this. So that's why.
That's bullshit. The Russians aren't facing setbacks. The Russians are doing everything exactly how they planned on doing it. What, did we really think that Russia was going to go in there and just completely decimate the Ukrainians? No, they're trying to do as little as they can with accomplishing their goals without completely decimating them and then creating, enemies forever. I mean, common sense. They could literally decide, you know what? Instead of the 10% of troops we're using, we can literally just take 50% of our troops and then flood them in there and then dominate this, instantly. The Russians aren't. But this is the bullshit which people get. And then if China were to invade Taiwan, would you support the United States going into Taiwan? This is the narrative which a lot of people are pushing, and people like Joe Biden are pushing this. We need to go in. It's all because they do not want China becoming stronger at all costs. It's the same thing with Russia. This is the same thing. And this is why they're going to more than likely fulfill both of these nations, doing things, because Taiwan, it's slightly different than you. Well, it's definitely different than Ukraine, because Taiwan technically is looked at as a one China policy. America, we still have a one China policy. That's how we recognize them. So we don't even recognize Taiwan as separate from China. But now we're talking about if China invaded Taiwan when it's considered one nation. I mean, did I get anything wrong there, Greg?
Yeah, no, that's 100%. And it's funny that it makes this comparison here, because notice how the only problems have to do with our main two geopolitical enemies, Russia and China, and they always the reason I say that is because, again, you can see this happening in Ukraine and Russia. They have to create some sort of boogeyman, some Hitler type figure, so that we can feel obliged into some World War II scenario where we're the superpowers. We can't even get home, appropriate housing or even healthcare.
Well, at the end, that clip you put in here. At the end, that clip you put in here, soccer completely rips the mask off and gives up the game. I mean, which I'll say that when you guys see. But yeah, Colin is right. So as I said on Twitter, people are shitting on Jimmy for bringing in right wingers, but look at Breaking Points. It's literally a right winger as the co-host. Oh, goodness gracious!
It's so funny. It's so funny.
The hypocrisy of liberals is always hilarious.
I think the war matters there, but the Defense Department, the White House, they are doing a great job.
Yep.
Great job.
Sure. Great job.
Just what we already know, that Republicans are terrible.
What I tell people is, if you have a conscience, you will vote third party for the rest of your life, because how dare you?
Which this is where I disagree with Jimmy. Third parties ain't gonna matter either. I'm sorry, Jimmy. I'm sorry for anybody who really pushed third parties. That ain't gonna matter either. Just gotta call it how I see it. They literally have you by the short and curlies. They control this system from root to toot. And back in the days, maybe you could have got some movement on some of the smaller levels in some states and cities. You still can. But when they literally take city council races like I'm getting tongue-tied, Kasharma Shawant, where they dropped $1 million into a city council race, that doesn't tell you the level which they're micro-focused into controlling every aspect of this government. I mean, they didn't even want to let gosh, I'm blanking on my guy's name. Help me remember. Older guy who ran for president. Mike Gravel. They didn't even want Mike Gravel on the stage because they knew what happened last time Mike Gravel was on the stage, when he called out Hillary, when he called out Obama, and when he called out Joe Biden. They knew he wasn't going to hold his tongue, and he was going to blast the shit out of all of them. And that's why they kept him off the stage. So they're always going to rig things. They're always going to change and move the goalposts. So even voting for a third party is not, it's that illusion of control. What you actually have to do, believe it or not, is you got to start pulling back. And the system has to show for the fallacy and the corruption that it actually is. If it doesn't show that, then people are going to keep on going on with this same, oh, well, maybe we should just vote harder. You know, maybe if we just get the GSA and the FSA and the whatever other groups you guys want to come up with, they're going to cut you off at the fucking knees every single time.
That's why it's like, it's not just about, I mean, if you're given the illusion of choice and you have to vote, sure, vote third party. But it's not just about voting in a third party. It's about general strike. It's about direct action. It's about organizing. And this is shit that takes time. That's much hard. That's like in some ways harder than forming.
Not some ways. It definitely is harder.
Yeah.
They don't want you, and most people would prefer to go to a ballot box, sit there and listen to somebody's speeches, do a couple things like that, and think that that's going to be enough. If you are going to try, you got to be very creative and think of some things outside of the box, because this voting thing is not going to get it. Colin says voting for any party is worthless without direct action. Now, if you want to do ballot initiatives and things like that, that's a good way to do things. If you want to do general strikes, if you want to boycott certain things, if you can figure out how to, because a lot of these corporations own so many different things, you can be boycotting one thing and then you're buying this other thing which is owned by that parent company anyway. So you're that boycott might not even be as effective as you think. So we all got to learn how to start being more creative and ways to push back. But just thinking you can just show up to a polling station is a joke.
It's kind of like what you said before, like not a lot of people have time or the energy to start organizing or doing any of this stuff, especially when you're working 40 plus hours a week. They work you to death in this country, and that's the only way that they can get you distracted. They can get you passive, and they can get you feeling like, oh, well, it's...
Well, going back to Nixon's goal, believe it or not, was to try to get us to a 4-day, possibly even a 3-day work week. I don't know if most people know that, but that was his goal, because he knew how much downtime, he knew how much throughout the day most people are not even actually working. But the elites don't want that, because if you have more time off, you have more time to start paying attention and organizing. And then they start dealing with situations which you see like in Spain and France, where the government is getting heavy pushback in certain areas. If you got to work, you can't do that. Election day will always be on a weekday. Exactly, Chris. They know what they're doing. This is on purpose, all of this. And
But never a federal holiday, okay? Where they're gonna give people adequate time. Yeah, of course not. But again, the whole thing was already rigged in the first place. So
yeah,
we know from the machines to the way the candidates are selected by the two ruling parties. The way, look, Charles Booker, to his credit, blew the lid off of that, and there were other candidates. I know there was a guy in Colorado also that talked about wanting to get on the ballot as a Democrat, and basically Steny Hoyer sat him down, was like, how much money do you have, and how much money are you going to give to the party, because we get this guy and he's lined up and he's the guy we want to put in the spot. It's like, yeah, welcome to the way that they've rigged the game to work for the wealthy and for the donor class that we've got to figure out a way to eliminate. And we've been talking about direct democracy, and you go back to Mike Gravel, that was his big platform, which is direct democracy and ballot measures. And look what happened to Tim Canova, 100% Wesley. And then they got our wonderful friend. I don't even like to mention her name, but our wonderful friend in 2020 to get in there and play ball and put up a quote unquote show against Debbie in that district, and completely got screwed over. And the math showed that there was totally something funny happening, and completely decided not to contest it whatsoever and just played off the celebrity and still is a podcast. So that's what's going on there. I don't want to say any more than that, because I don't know any more than that, but there's a lot of smoke there. There's a lot of smoke in FL 23 from 2020 is all I can say.
Chris brings up a good point here. When he mentioned super delegates, it doesn't. That alone is going to erase the idea of trying to vote in any sort of.
Yep. I mean,
third party again. Third party, if for no other reason than to take away the power of the duopoly. As long as the third party isn't funded by one of the billionaires, the Forward Party. Hello, Andrew Yang. And I saw somebody in a Facebook group like, dude, you should really think about the Forward Party. No, God, no.
Well, here's the thing.
It's going to be corporate Democrats.
We have to believe that the elections are actually run legit and straight up. I mean, does anybody here actually believe that the elections are completely legitimate? I don't.
I look at the people that are working at the polling places. They have to operate these machines, and they can barely operate an iPad. I mean, let alone follow all the instructions under pressure while everybody's waiting. Seriously.
Well, not even that. I mean, think back to the machines where they like literally brought in. I think the guy was maybe Swiss or something like that, or Danish, and he came in and he showed how the debolt machines could be manipulated.
11 minutes. I believe it was, maybe it was 7 minutes. An 11-year-old hacked into one of the machines and was able to literally change the votes.
Yep.
Yes, they're vulnerable. They're connected to the internet, even though the companies claim that they're not. They do have wireless modems. They also have USB ports, and the chain of custody is certainly not always followed. And it's an issue. It's a concern for sure.
Yep.
Worries the hell out of me. And again, it nobody really wants to look into it. Everybody that has potential stake into authorizing an investigation into looking into it does not want to potentially uncover the fact that their election was won due to some nefarious machine error, and now all of a sudden they lose their seat or power, which is why I think we haven't seen it investigated thoroughly independently. The fact that these companies are private, that their software can't be audited, and that they are considered proprietary, that it's not open source and it's not completely transparent to a independent auditing service. Those things concern me heavily, and I don't know why, how the system got set up that way. That again, between ES&S and Dominion, a lot of these machines do have, the express vote machines. There were questions about across the board vote flipping, specifically in Texas. On top of the fact that we didn't even get to them closing polling places in poor locations in order to make the lines even longer, so the poor people that have to take off all day to vote can't even vote. And then they made it illegal to give people in line in Georgia food and drinks. That's bribery.
I mean, this is all organized. I mean, Colin's making some solid points. I need to make sure to get you on here soon, bro.
Oh, dude, Colin's killing it.
Colin's a great guy.
Colin's killing it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm always checking out what Colin's doing. I'm normally studying and stuff in the background, so you guys never know when I'm necessarily on a stream or not.
Vote for these.
He's so he would
Oh, was that?
He's been he's an educator, early childhood educator, so he's getting to the point where he's gonna have the summers off. He's gonna be on INN News every Wednesday night. You're gonna see him doing a feature story, and he's been doing these Collins rants, which are awesome. I don't know if everybody's been checking those out, but definitely get into the INN YouTube page. That's youtube.com/Indie News Network, and you can find all the Collins rants that we've clipped up and from all the previous episodes. But yeah, let's get back to the video. I love it.
Alrighty.
For sure.
Warmongering puppet and tool of Wall Street and the enemy of the workers, and somehow you're going to pat yourself on the back of your good
I think Donald Trump is a danger. I think he's terrible. I also know that I'm a white person saying this. But
yes, you are a white person. I wanted to bring up that point right there. Literally, and I guess I'll keep this short. Biden literally has been the most destructive politician in my lifetime. I'm 41 years old. He has wreaked more havoc on the Black community than any other politician alive. And this man has been doing it for 50 years. So to say, well, we need to be more scared of Trump than Biden, you're dealing with the difference of, let's see, a guy who says some racist comments, like, believe it or not, a lot of old white guys do. The only difference is he said it to your face. And one who hides it, but shows you through his actions that he does not give a fuck about you. And in fact, when he went on Charlamagne's show, he literally disrespected the hell out of Charlamagne right to his face. Now, I would have responded way different than Charlamagne did, but some people want to keep their access, and I get it. It's more important to them. Oh, good fucking idiots.
Hillary Clinton is not slam dunk 100% better than I, as an individual, can.
Let's not forget, Hillary Clinton was a Goldwater girl. Once a Goldwater girl, always a Goldwater girl. And Margaret Sanger was one of her biggest role models. Margaret Sanger, a woman who referred to Blacks and Latinos as weeds that need to be rooted out and killed in the womb. So does that make sense that later on she would come out and talk about super predators? That ideology has not changed and left her. She is a Republican who is posing as the left, and that's what the whole Democratic Party is. Republicans pretending to be leftists. We don't have a left party in America. Just get it in your heads.
Choose your color of fashion.
There seems to be a laser focus on one party. Blinders, earmuffs.
Here you saying, David, is you're giving it an out for them to not do this, and that's
no. I'm not giving them an out.
Yeah,
I'm saying I don't.
I'm giving them an out because I can't blast my wife.
I know the answer to when push really came to shove. If you said, I want these things that you really don't want to do, and that those lawmakers should then vote in the way that we're talking about to elect Kevin McCarthy speaker. Just as a human being.
And then he brings up the talking point of Kevin McCarthy being the speaker. You know that's bullshit. You are a Democratic consultant and analyst. That is a bold-faced lie. And he knows it's a bold-faced lie. The fact that he even tried that It should tell you how corrupted this motherfucker is.
As a human being, you're misframing this. You
As
keep, as a human being, you keep misframing the issue.
She can't get 218 Democrats, then there's no speaker.
Right.
And then it kicks back to the caucus, and then it's chaos, and then a whole bunch of people can run, and then somebody will emerge. Somebody would emerge from that.
But a
process.
Democrat.
As he points out, you don't get Kevin McCarthy as speaker.
Yeah.
And
Pause that a
this guy,
second. 'Cause that-
Mr. Grifter.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Dude, that to me, and this Reef and I have continued to argue about this, even though it's completely dead, and we're 2+ years later, and we're still arguing about this. But my feeling was it wasn't about forced to vote. It was guaranteed that Pelosi was never going to be speaker again. And they had the power to do that collectively so easily. There were 8 of them. You needed 8 spots. We're never going to vote for Nancy Pelosi. Ever, ever, ever. Pick another Democrat. I don't care who it is. We'll negotiate with them. We'll get ourselves a vote for Medicare for all. Make sure they're a Medicare for all advocate. But we'll have rounds and rounds and rounds. There'll never be a speaker as long as that's the case. That's the bargain they should have made. But what they got afraid, they didn't want to threaten with that. And they were too afraid of getting yelled at on MSNBC as badly as they were getting skewered on Fox News. I mean, it's beyond disappointing, and it's why, did they throw the game or did they just decide to not play the game? And then there was the whole pay-go. Come on. I mean, Jayapal made the deal. Jayapal and Polkant made the deal on pay-go and sold out the entire caucus effectively, and they just went along, and the 8 of them could have just stood up and said, you know what? No. But it was my trusted colleagues and all the stuff they said they were going there to do, to be adversarial, to stand up to power, to speak truth to power, and to actually stop them from doing what they want to do in order to get things that the people actually wanted and needed. Still has not happened. And then they want more. And vote for more of us. Re-elect us again. Here we go, 2022. They're all running again. And they've got huge war chests now. And this is what I talked about, with another friend of mine tonight. AOC has the 4th largest war chest in the House. Rashida Tlaib's right up there. She's got almost $1.9 million sitting in a war chest right now. Nobody talks about that.
Yeah, I guess they asked out here. SM says, LOL perks. When did this happen? This happened actually, probably easily a good 4 or 5 months ago, when they posted that picture of him kissing Crystal out at the lake or whatever.
It was Valentine's Day. Who could forget? Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah. So I wonder how long that was going on. She's like, forget my husband and my 2 kids. Let's run off with this little young punk.
Yeah. Which is hilarious. I wonder the age difference. I think they're like a 10-year age difference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. This is hilarious. But look at it like this. If you've sold out for your show and your show is starting to tank where you were getting income, you got to supplement that income somewhere else. So why not get with a wealthier older woman? Solution solved. And then you can kind of simp for her on her show. Oh, man.
But as long as we're not arming the Azov.
Nord Stream pipeline acts. Well, there was a lot more other stuff which he completely left out. If you even brought up the Nord Stream pipeline, what about Nord Stream 1? Didn't bring that up. Sanctioned oligarchs. Yeah, I won't even get on that, but the whole arming Ukraine, him pushing for arming Ukraine. Well, if it doesn't go to the Azov battalion, well, what about the fact that Azov battalion is literally spread throughout the whole entire military, and every battalion has an Azov unit in it? So that means they're going to get weapons anyway. Even if let's say in a perfect world that it doesn't get to Azov soldiers, yeah, right. Well, you still got to remember, aren't a lot of the mayors in various parts of Ukraine supportive of the Azov battalion? Yes. So when people use that whole argument, well, there's only like a couple hundred of them. Yeah. But how many government officials which support the Azov battalion? Well, I'm not going to say that comparison, but I mean, and I put it this way. In South Africa, how many white South Africans were there? Not a lot, but they still have a lot of power in the government. It's not about the numbers of your population to have power. Just like it doesn't matter how many Azov battalion soldiers you have, as long as you have government power. And they actually, what was it, like almost 15%? One of their candidates ran and almost got 15% of the vote. That's more power than third parties in America have.
Way more.
I mean, third parties in America haven't gotten haven't even got close to sniffing 10%. At best, under what's his name, Ross Perot. Ross Perot got like what, 8%, something like that. All the rest since then or before then have gotten maybe like 2%, 1%, been virtually irrelevant. So Azov Battalion has more than the Green Party does. And I don't think people think the Green Party is irrelevant. All right, let's see. Yeah, play.
Azov Battalion, I have no problem arming Ukraine in general so that they could protect themselves from Russian aggression.
I forgot, and not to mention, what's his name? Who looks like he might be running for office? Oh, you said Ro Kant. But yeah, he's one of the people who literally wrote a bill about that, so he knows that a lot of weapons are going to their hands. And when called out on it, he kind of got all squishy on it and didn't want to give a straight answer because he knows the weapons are going to Azov Battalion soldiers, the same people which you go back and look at who literally punked their president. So you're going to tell me that these people don't have power? Then you don't know actually what the fuck is going on over there.
Ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false.
That is why
you're not true. That's all we need to know.
Why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are.
Yep.
Makes me not to grow up.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is true. Look, they have come around on Assange. They have done some good stories on some good things, and this is how they kind of bring people in.
That's how you run cover. That's called running cover. You got to give to cover yourself.
That's that's the way I see a lot of this. Unfortunately, there's a lot of there's good takes, and that's why people kind of run in to defend. But I got to be honest, there really hasn't been very many people that have run to the defense here, other than some people with no profile photo accounts and 8 followers going, "How come you're looking to divide?" I think everybody kind of knew what's going on here.
Speaking of looking to divide, what's going on over there in Majority Report with Nomiki Konst?
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about them, but you mentioned them before, and I was like, yeah, they kind of have their own issues going on this week, don't they? Yeah, a little conflict of interest there for sure.
Did Noli slip in here? I think somebody said Noli. Noli's in here. Hey, Noli.
What's up, Noli? Hi.
And I see Hamza slipped in there. Hey, Hamza. How we doing, brother?
Nice.
Let's get into a little bit more. We're almost at the. No. We got. Plenty of meat left.
NATO Miki running. It's hilarious. I love that.
You guys are dividing.
And she's running against a DSA person.
What are you guys doing when you guys literally stomp for the DSA, and then one of your people goes and runs against the DSA? Wow.
One of the most pivotal times in American history.
They are very comfortable and okay with multipolarity. I mean, they've laughed at me.
So what is that? So what is multipolarity?
Right. So they've laughed at me when I'm like, God, we'll be doomed to Europe. And they're like, oh, well, in Europe, they have healthcare. I'm like, yeah, but they also have no say over the global affairs of the world. I want to write.
He wants it. Well, I guess I'll let him finish his statement.
The affairs of the world, the rules of the road. I want to be the only blue water navy.
Yeah. What did you just say there?
Yeah, this is the most eye-opening statement from him. I think you brought it up earlier. But this is that really shows like where his true intentions lie.
Well, that's where all of these people are. They believe in the empire, about keeping the empire afloat. They want to run. They want to literally keep controlling the world and telling everybody what the hell they can or cannot do. That's their goal. No matter what nation it is, big, small, that's what the whole thing about Russia is. That's what this whole proxy war is. That's what the whole, I mean, with Ukraine being the proxy, that's what the whole thing about trying to separate Taiwan off and make Taiwan into like the next Ukraine type situation. This is all about, and this is literally in the government's, got to remember which, and I'll look up that document to show it, but literally it's part of like mission plan for the United States that any government starts rising up that could actually challenge us on any level, not even militarily. If it could challenge us economically, it has to be put down. And that's where it goes back to that imperialism, that colonizer mentality of keeping everybody down in control.
Gemini, as our friend Richard Medhurst loves to say.
Yes, exactly. And exactly, Colin has it right. She's controlled opposition also. That's why she's running, really. She's not running because they really give a shit, but they're like, wait a minute. And here's the thing about it. Even if we're able to get in somebody who is not completely controlled and has good intentions, the mountain, the wall that they have to get through to try to even get anything done is immense. And so their goal is, we don't even want to bring any troublemakers in. We don't want anybody who's going to come in and even screech about any of the corrupt shit that we have going on over here. We only want people who are either going to fall in line or people that can be controlled to keep their mouths shut, just like the squad does. I mean,
That's it, man.
I have one other clip in here. I know we gotta get our brother Greg out of here shortly. I might run a little bit longer, go into some of that Biden stuff for you guys. But I want to see if I got this one clip still up. Where is it at? Because it's a lady getting taken to task on that same issue with China. And I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but I think you guys need to. If you haven't seen it, let's see, where's that tweet at? Or I probably could just pull the video up. But it is a woman who's literally blasting. She's complaining about China and their influence into Africa, which I don't know if a lot of people know. Just recently, we have put a bill out that basically African nations need to consult with the U.S. before they decide to do basically anything. If they do anything with Russia. Or Russia,
they're going to be
China.
declared as like having, it's really kind of, Belt and Road. And again, this is where they're trying to exert control, and Africa is definitely one of the future grounds where they're looking at resources between, it's the global South, it's Africa and it's South America. And this is where the future, the next battlegrounds are being played out now. We're seeing it in Somalia. We're seeing it in, I shout out to Sebs, who's been talking about Eritrea before anybody was talking about what was happening there. Ethiopia. And it's just, wow. Again, this is where, my thing is, again, Afghanistan ended last August officially. So where is the money that they were putting into the military industrial complex now going to go? Mm-hmm. It's got to go somewhere.
They got to funnel it.
Oh, man, I can't find it. Ah, dang it, where is it at? Oh, hold on one second if you guys...
Man, LA is lit up tonight, huh, Marcus?
Actually, mine is quiet.
It's probably me.
Yeah. He sounds
like
that's you.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Well, he is in New Jersey.
Yeah, I am too, but I'm in the woods. I'm in the country.
Yeah, he's in Midland.
Oh, you're out in the country. Let's see.
A little bit.
I'm right next to New York City, so it's like basically.
Oh well, that's why.
Yeah.
I guess they had a shorter clip, but I can only find this one. She's getting like basically taken apart. She's getting taken apart for, and I'll just show a little bit of this. Since I don't have the short one.
I'm been very concerned lately.
Be honest.
China and sort of there. We have transferred so much money from our economy over
be
to
right
China by buying all those things and supporting their economy over there so they could make more and more money. They are now all over Africa, buying things and investing over there and getting those countries dependent on them and supporting, non-democratic people. And I'm just
Like
wondering-
whom?
Well,
We are in a country that supports Saudi Arabia.
yes, that's
Yeah?
true. Right. So,
Suddenly we have a problem with, superpowers supporting non-democratic people.
yes, yes, I do. But I also am just concerned that we've sort of created the economic power that China sort of has now, and they're using it, I fear, going to be using it against us eventually and against the better interests of a lot of people.
Allow me to put your mind to rest.
Okay, great.
You shouldn't worry about that.
Okay.
It's very simple. And let me explain why you shouldn't worry about that. But please continue.
Well, they're, they're in Africa. They're lending money to countries to build ports and different infrastructure.
To build what?
Port.
And what's wrong with that?
And because
countries that need ports get ports.
But they're making people dependent on. I know it's the same thing that we've done, which is
no, it's not.
Around the world.
They are far more humanistic than the United States ever was.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely.
So,
let me give you. Of course,
Well,
they are petty for influence.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they are non-interventionist. Absolutely non-interventionist in a way that Europeans, the West, has never managed to fathom.
But I have a feeling they have a longer-term thought process that is more interventionist.
All right. But anyway, let's judge what we see. Let's judge what.
Okay.
Wait. Let's start at the beginning. The Chinese never asked Apple to go to Shenzhen and produce all the iPhones. It was Steve Jobs that decided that. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
It was not China that went to Washington, D.C. and demanded that they buy a third of your national debt. If they hadn't bought it, you would be in serious trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number three, I did allude to this in my talk. If in 2008 China had not cranked up their credit bubble, you would be in a new Great Depression now.
Mm-hmm.
So, China, the United States, and the European Union are absolutely synergistic, and they need one another in a way that if we fail to acknowledge and to nurture, billions of people, including the majority of the people in this country, are going to suffer. Now, I am not going to stand here and defend China and the Chinese Communist Party. I already made some negative remarks about the Chinese Communist Party in referring to, their attitudes as being compatible with those of Wolfgang Schäuble. My concern about China is the authoritarian manner in which the Chinese regime is treating the Chinese people. As a Democrat, I have a problem with this. Mind you, I have to tell you that, from my understanding of China, it's a very interesting social experiment, in the sense that at the local level, or the regional level, you now have a boisterous democracy. At the local and regional level, with popular success stories in overthrowing local authorities, local bureaucrats who have been corrupt, who have been this, who have been that, who have been the other. When it comes to the influence of China outside its borders, I have to say, firstly, it's quite remarkable that they don't seem to have any military ambitions. Secondly, Africa. I'll give you an example, a specific example. Ethiopia. 2004, because it happened to be there, and I have some first-hand experience of it. They went into Ethiopia. I'll tell you why they went into Ethiopia, because they suspected there was oil. Because China is a major industrial power, but it lacks primary resources. Now, instead of going into Africa with troops, colonially, destroying the country, killing people like the West has done for the last 100 years, what they did was they went to Addis Ababa and they said to the government, we would like, we can see you have problems with your infrastructure. We would like to build some new airports, upgrade your railway system, create a telephone system, and rebuild your roads. And we'll do this all for free. No strings attached. We don't want anything from you.
Mm-hmm.
And they did.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they do it? Because it's soft power. Because because they knew that if oil is...
And that's the point of that one. I'll put I will put it in the chat for everybody to see the whole thing. But the thing about it is, every nation is going to do what's in the best interest of their own nation. China needs more natural resources. I would rather them do it by working out deals with the country and maybe getting the better of them on a deal. Because
instead of bombing the shit out of them.
Yeah, instead of bombing the shit out of them. Let people make their own decisions. They have the right to say, you know what, we don't want that deal. And China's not going to force it. But the US will not do that. And I hear a lot of people in the West, they love to push back and go after China and all that. Okay, what China does internally in their own country is their business. I would prefer, of course, that they weren't as authoritarian, but also, do we know exactly how authoritarian things are? And if it's the whole entire nation of China where it's going on, or in certain areas, do we know any of these details? No, we don't really know any of these details because China keeps a lot of their business in-house. We know most of this information vicariously through Western media, which has an interest in being against China in the first damn place. And so let's all keep that in mind, where we're getting the information from about how China is treating other nations or treating their own people. I mean, that's what I wanted to say on that. Colin said, I would rather have African
Giannis
say fuck you, China. Yeah. Oh,
Giannis is kind of a weird character. I know he was the former finance minister of Greece when their economy completely crashed, and he's got this DM25 news organization, and I've even seen some questions around that. A lot of things that I've heard I really like from the guy. People have been saying Jimmy Dore should have him on. They should have a conversation. Again, this is the Cambridge Forum. Not exactly, and she's an ultra China hawk, clearly a fearmonger, someone who's been watching either Tucker or somebody on the right, or maybe even just watching MSNBC, where they've been fearmongering about China left, right, and sideways. Yeah,
you could be watching Rachel Maddow. I mean, you're going to hear the same shit.
Yeah, pretty much Tucker or MSNBC. I mean, it's definitely somebody who's watching mainstream corporate media. And getting fed talking points about, well, they're giving them all this stuff, but there's a long-term play here, except that there is no specific thing that you can point to that they're actually trying to do. And that's it's only because that's what we would be doing. I mean, it's such projection in so many ways. And it's like, well, there's no way they're just going to give that away for free. And they're not just going to give that to them for nothing. And it's like, well, but they know that if they uplift that economy, that's going to end up producing for China in the end, and supporting the Chinese economy, and they're going to get favorable treatment and favorable deals, and everybody wins.
Well, and also the
and no,
West
is it?
won't have that superiority in controlling all the resources, and eventually they know that they'll start realizing that, wait a minute, Africa's getting a better deal out of China, Russia, all these other places, and start telling the West to go fuck off, and that's what they're actually scared of.
Yep. That's already happening. We've already seen that start to happen. Okay, where China's buying Russian oil in rubles and Russian gas in rubles, how Russia's requiring anyone who's buying from Europe to be buying in rubles from the Bank of Russia, from one of their banks. I don't remember which one it was. And then, of course, they made the deal with Pakistan. And then what did they do? They had a vote of no confidence for Imran Khan after that. I mean, that was pushed heavily by apparently more Western influences, even though they'll deny it. And it's a whole narrative. That's where you see a lot of the media narrative arguments being played out on a global scale, where you see this corporate media being able to, because they have the reach and the money and the resources to be able to spin a set of talking points across the world much easier to coordinate offices. That's why, again, you see these type of stories get put out pretty quickly. And it's a lot harder for independent media to break through with a story that actually blows the lid off this stuff.
Yeah, my point of view comes from getting some water. My point of view comes from people who are literally in China. Just like I was talking about, I just had 2 interviews with Dr. Guguletu Hughes, who's out of South Africa. I often talk to Malik. I'm forgetting his last name right now. Shame on me. But him and Alphabet, I talk to them on various issues on Africa. So I tend to try to talk to people who are living, over there, who have family over there, to hear more of their perspectives instead of hearing, points of views from the West. And I look at it'll be up to Africa to well, Africans as a whole, or whatever different nations, for them to start deciding, now that they have a choice and are able to, decide, is this a good deal or bad deal? It's going to be a new, I guess, era, or a new destiny, because they're so used to being dictated and forced to and leveraged by the West that they are probably going to get taken advantage of on a couple of deals here and there. But I would rather than the ability to make deals and not being forced into deals. And it's just like in big business. Is it unfair that some people, hop in and take advantage of other nations? No, it's not fair, but I would rather that than war and force. So let's see. Colin had a comment in there. Says, my position on China in Africa is mixed. Some countries can benefit from China's intervention if they are richer. Many countries cannot. Yeah, and that's what I say. Africa is such a large continent. So many different nations and so many different, needs or whatever. So I leave that for them to make that choice. Let's see. Thomas says China has a 4,000 year old continuous civilization. They survived civil wars, being invaded, and all kinds of political and economic turmoil. America is young and naive about China. It will backfire. And that's the point of view which I've been dealing with. I've had a lot of Westerners who want to get on, and they want me to just read China the Riot Act about how bad they are. And I'm like, we literally live in the West. Most of us live in America. Americans, how can an American have any room to talk about any nation, period, on the face of this earth? I mean, you think that our government's not authoritarian? Have we not seen the stuff our government does? Granted, they do most of their authoritarian action on the whole entire world and not just us, where China does some of their stuff more internally. But do we censor journalists? Yes. Do we have what's called rendition, and we snatch people off the streets? Yes, that happens. I know a
You
lot of
bet.
Americans don't realize it, but it happens. Do we not
Happened in Portland.
do we not secretly throw people into camps and stuff? Yes, the hell we do. Everything that we say Russia does and that China does, we do it here. Now, I say America does it because I don't have any part in this. But Americans and Westerners have no business at all to point fingers at China when it's literally like America is the freaking Death Star. They are literally doing most of the evil, most of the corruption that goes on in these countries. And why some of these countries in Africa are poor is because of Western influence and extraction by us forcing terms on them and paying them pennies on the dollar so that we can keep products cheap in the West. I mean, so
yeah,
that needs to be all focused in on. Sorry for going on my little rant. What's some of your thoughts, Indy?
Again, I'm aligned with you really on what's going on there, and with Colin also. China's doing it. China, they're going to have to figure out a way to provide resources for 1.7 billion people. That's a quarter of the world's population, and they realize that it's a whole lot easier to do that by building up nations rather than dropping bombs on them, or at least by doing it under threat. And it makes us really upset because this is going to be the red century. I was told that last century by my father, who even he it was an importer from China. He actually was importing garments in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and he saw this coming, and the development of their infrastructure and the way that they were able to get their stuff together, and how devolved our system has become over here and corrupt. They don't have the kind of red tape. And, I go back to what they did in Wuhan. It might have been Wuhan when COVID hit, and they built that hospital in 100 days, I believe, using container ships. And you wouldn't even be able to get permits in 100 days here.
Exactly. I wanted to, I guess, get Greg's last thoughts or whatever. I know he has to get out of here, and so, Greg, it was such a pleasure.
In a few minutes too, but
it was a pleasure to have you on here. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go a little bit longer, maybe another 20 or 30 minutes after you guys need to leave, just so that I can be fair to the thumbnail. But Greg, what do you have to say, my good brother?
I was going to say that at least in China, there's at least some form of debate in terms of policy, in terms of their leadership. Here, you can't even get. There's only one straight narrative, and if you disagree with that narrative or go any, you're either smeared or you're either censored or some other. There's no form of actual discussion happening here, and it's hard to say. And I'm right with you there. Where we're in no room to either criticize or be some sort of world superpower or try to pretend like we're the beacon of democracy when we can't even get our own shit straight.
Yeah, I mean, it's mind-boggling to me. Greg, can you let everybody know where they can get in touch with you, how they can follow what you have going on, and for those who are just coming in, what do you normally have going on?
So I have a Twitter and a YouTube channel. Right now, I'm making music and art. You can see my EP on Spotify. There's some more music coming. It's called Generica America, but Mad Crab and the Dancing Lobsters. You can find me on Spotify. Twitter is Big Bang Crab. Same thing for YouTube. All the socials are there. But yeah, I'm also making art for Indie here and several other creators. So if anyone needs design work, I'm here.
Yeah, man, I'll give him a little hype. You can find all his links at linktr.ee/BigMadCrab. So you can, there's links to Spotify, Twitter. You can find all the stuff there. He's been doing awesome work for INN, for Indie Left News. He does all the thumbnails for How Do We Miss That, both for the episodes as well as for all the segment clips. He's been killing it doing thumbnails for Tara, for Tara Reid, for her live streams, and filling in behind the scenes, people needing help. And then he's doing videos like this. I mean, Crab's killing it. We're having so much fun. And then he's going on streams. We went we saw Ron Placone live in New York City together. That was a good time. We had an INN outing, and we got to actually meet in person. But what a great dude! Just doing tons of great work out there to help people expose corruption and support independent media and independent content creators. And love that dude. He's great peeps. So appreciate him being part of INN.
Yeah, and I'll actually be on Savage Joy Marie's podcast on Monday.
Okay, all right.
At 9:30. So.
All right.
Eastern.
Make sure you guys pencil that in. And
9
when you go over, make sure to give her a subscribe also.
Yeah.
Follow Savage Joy, both on Rockfin as well. She's got a Rockfin channel. We're going to talk a little bit about Rockfin probably in a little bit. Maybe Marcus will drop that later, but if he hasn't already.
No, I actually want to let you break that news for me.
You didn't send me the description and the link for tonight. We were going to co-stream this onto my Rockfin channel, but hopefully in the near future, we're going to be able to stream this directly to Marcus's Rockfin channel, because we had a conversation with some folks at Rockfin, and apparently Marcus is getting approved for a Rockfin channel. So look for the Marcus Cage Rockfin channel coming up very, very soon in the near future.
Oh yeah, me and Laws are going to be on the Rockfin soon, so look forward to that. Make sure you guys subscribe over there to it. Next show, we should probably have a lot more stuff set up. I'm working on thumbnail for the show and stuff like that, and descriptions and adding links, and so I'm still kind of working on figuring stuff out over there, because I don't go onto Rockfin nearly as much as I should be. But eventually the goal would be to start doing more and more content over there, and to get to the point where I'm not even on here nearly as much. And it'll just be kind of like trying to remember what her name is. I'm forgetting. It doesn't really matter. But where they come on and say, hey, we're going to be talking about this. We'll be over on Rockfin. A little 20-30 minutes, and then do most of the show over there. That way we can speak a lot more freely. I don't begrudge. Some people have their Rockfins, and honestly, their Rockfin content is no different than what you can find on YouTube. Because it's still pretty safe. As you guys know, my content's not going to be nearly as safe, so you guys get to hear a lot more of what me and Chris really think on some things. So I'm very excited about that. Big shout out to Indy for help putting us up there, and really like stand on top of them about getting our names in their ears.
And shout out to Reed for bailing me out, because I had the meeting with Rockfin set up, and I ended up not being able to make it. He stepped in, showed them a bunch of stuff, and again, I had a list of some people that really they need to take a look at. And your show's been running on my channel, and it's been doing really well. And so I was just showing them some of the numbers. I'm like, guys, this is the kind of content that you want on Rockfin, and the kind of content that belongs on the platform. So let's go. So like usually we want to see more subscriber count and more people, but we're going to make an exception, and we believe in you guys. So we really appreciate. Shout out to Rockfin. Thank you for you guys over there. We really do appreciate the support that you guys are giving INN and Indie Left and this entire space, really, because in the era of censorship and what's been happening with us on YouTube, to have a space and a place where we're not being suppressed. And you can see it in the growth from the people that are signing up for Rockfin. I mean, we've seen our channel grow to almost as many subscribers as we had on YouTube. It's taken us almost 2 years to get there. And in Rockfin, it's taken us 2 months to reach almost as many followers. So again, big shout out to Rockfin for being there.
I'm glad they're giving me this opportunity, because here's one thing which I would tell people. Yeah, they might not see the subscribers on YouTube because YouTube intentionally keeps my channel down. I mean, on average, this is normal normal YouTube numbers. Most average channels normally capture roughly about 10 to 15% of their subscriber audience. Our show regularly gets 60 to 70% almost every episode. So our subscribers are watching. It's just a matter of, since we're not being suggested to new subscribers, it's harder to get exposure. And so we only get exposure when we go on to other platforms. And so what that shows is they're literally blocking off and not suggesting our content.
100%.
Alrighty. Well, I don't want to keep the youngster up too much.
Time for bedtime.
I got to work on how do we miss that for tomorrow night, and work on putting together a slideshow. So I'm gonna bail out for tonight. And I appreciate being on the show. Always love being on. Appreciate the invite and showcasing the article. Everybody go to indienewsnetwork.substack.com. Check that out. It's right at the top of the Substack, and it's blowing up. And there's going to be more follow-up articles to that. So definitely subscribe via email for free.
Yes.
Thanks,
definitely.
everybody. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, much love for them for really reaching out. Reef out there too. Much love to Reef. I see my boy Chris is in the chat, living his best life. Not mad at him. Let's see. I see a little back and forth in the chat, which I kind of wanted to talk about. Yeah, I saw. Let's see. Colin was saying, where did that comment go? Let's put it on the screen. Says Africa is not that one. Let's go back up a little further. That's not the comment I wanted. This one says, I would rather Black people from the West who are educated with the know-how to go and make investments in Africa. The only problem is the Western powers are going to corrupt those people no matter what. So any people we send over that are going to be negotiating our behalf are going to be bought and sold. That's one thing you can always count on. So even if we did have Black people who are speaking on our behalf, that's not a lock that they're going to get better deals. In fact, they're only going to, what they'll do is they'll probably granny some backdoor thing in for the U.S. or try to sabotage most of those deals so that they have to rely on going back to the U.S. I don't want to go as far as what Miguel is saying there, but I still got love for both of you out there. Is it though Africa is our ancestral home? Imperialism implies superiority. Blacks in the West are not superior to African cousins. Well, here's the thing about it. I don't really have quite that same Pan-Africanism view, because many African countries could have came over here and fought for us to get us out of the troubles that we were in, or could have supplied, and they didn't for the longest. In fact, many of them were the ones who had no problem selling us off. So that same camaraderie on the same feeling, I don't really have that quite so much. So I think that we have a very separate experience, as in being so-called African Americans or whatever. And I think that they should probably do what's best for their channel over there. So not mad at them, but it's just a little bit different. And I don't feel like, for the most part, we have that same necessarily love and connection over there. Alrighty, so I will do a little bit of this Biden address and try to wrap it up, because I know my brother Warren's over there and don't want to run too much longer. But here is a little bit of that Biden speech. Let's see.
hour because President Biden is about to address the nation after a series of horrific mass shootings in this country, an epidemic of gun violence in the U.S. The images, as you know at home, have been heart.
Hallowed grounds, we saw rows and rows of crosses among the rows of headstones with other emblems of belief, honoring those who paid the ultimate price on battlefields around the world. The day before, we visited Uvalde, Texas. In front of Robb Elementary School, we stood before 21 crosses for 19 third and fourth graders and 2 teachers. On each cross, a name, and nearby, a photo of each victim that Jill and I reached out to touch. Innocent victims murdered in a classroom that have been turned into a killing field. Standing there in that small town, like so many other communities across America, I couldn't help but think there are too many other schools, too many other everyday places that have become killing fields, battlefields here in America. We stood at such a place just 12 days before, across from a grocery store in Buffalo, New York, memorializing 10 fellow Americans, a spouse, a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, gone forever. At both places, we spent hours with hundreds of family members who were broken, whose lives will never be the same. They had one message for all of us: do something. Just do something. For God's sake, do something. After Columbine, after Sandy Hook, after Charleston, after Orlando, after Las Vegas, without being shot and killed. According to new data just released by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, guns are the #1 killer of children in the United States of America. The #1 killer.
And so let's stop it there. I mean, that's what a lot of this speech is about. Yeah, exactly. Willem, I'm like, where is he going with this? Jared Brown got deleted. Why don't she shouldn't have got deleted? I definitely didn't do it. The point where he's going with this is some kind of gun control legislation. And the thing about it is, a lot of this gun control legislation is not going to stop these things because the weapons are still out there. Unless you're going to go and collect up all the weapons which are already out there, you're still going to have this issue because you can still get guns in various different ways in America. I don't really know what the solution will be, but if you go into the manifesto from the Buffalo shooter, his mindset was that we need to have that legislation. His goal was to get them to take away gun legislation. That way you would have less people with guns to defend those people who are going to keep their guns and perpetrate more mass shootings. I honestly believe there's a lot of different solutions. Well, I'm not going to say solutions. I'll say ideas, because I don't feel like you can solve any of this. You have a nation which has a lot of internal issues, which it never wants to deal with or face. And so as long as you have all these internal issues and you never want to deal with them, you're going to keep having situations like this. Let's see, Baba Yaga says, from my cold dead hands, in the words of Charlton Heston. Exactly. You're going to have people who are never going to want to turn off their guns. Also, here's something. Why don't we just start making, I honestly feel like that there needs to be, when people are giving warnings, there needs to be more that the police and law enforcement can do. Most of these mass shooters recently have all had warnings, have people saying that this is a possibility of happening, but they feel like, oh, there's nothing I can do about it. But if you make a threat against the president, even if it's something that's not even really possible, they can send, U.S. Marshals, not U.S. Marshals, but they can send Secret Service to your location instantly. Here's another thing. If you can at least put these people on some kind of red flag list and at least make a probationary period where you're not a, because I hear people like, what are we supposed to do? We can't just arrest them. You don't have to arrest them. You can literally just make sure that this person is on a list so they cannot get weapons, period. But they don't try to think of the nuanced things. There's like when I lived in Florida, there was a such thing called a Baker Act. If you believe that somebody is a harm to themselves or others, the law enforcement would literally take them to a mental institution. If you believe somebody's mentally unsound, then why are we not having these resources for these things? Everything has to be a react after the fact. Let's do something after something happens. And that's part of the problem. Nobody wants to deal with anything before with reasonable solutions. And like another thing, body armor, unless you work for some kind of armor truck or whatever, make it illegal. I guarantee you it'll limit some of these mass shootings, because a lot of these mass shooters love to walk in with body armor on because they still fear for their own lives. If they knew that any random person with a gun could shoot back, I think that would change some shit. I don't know. What's some of you guys' thoughts on this? I mean, I could keep going on and on and on, but like I said, I want to try to hold to my promise and not go too long to hop off of here so that Warren could stream unobstructed. Let's see. Let's read some of these comments. Colin says, I can understand you wanting to maintain connections between all blacks and Africa. I too wish natives of Americas allied and traded before, but the U.S. and West break it up. Colin has, as an immigrant and has family connections. Many so-called African Americans do not have that connection at all. It doesn't exist for us. So it's a different relationship when you don't have that tie. I have far more tie to my Native American ancestors over here than I do to any connection with Africa. I wouldn't even know what part of Africa that my family supposedly came from. So I don't have that same tie of culture and history and things like that, which somebody who is an immigrant from Africa has. Let's see what else. Miguel says, I hear you. I understand helping family, but it's different than trying to be to help a whole continent. They should be able to help themselves, not depend on foreign. Well, I don't know what's going on with that comment. I don't even know why I grabbed that one. Guess I'm jumping into the middle of a conversation, which I do not know exactly what's going on. So I will leave that there. Really, Atris? I saw Steve hop in there. Steven Torres says, if people keep ignoring the emotional baggage, shit is going to get wild. People need mental health therapy and understanding of self. Also, if we're not going to ever deal with just some of the things, like a lot of people would prefer to not ever talk about what the Buffalo Shooters Manifesto or the Christchurch or the Dylan Roofs. Let's not even talk about why they decided to walk in and shoot up these places. If you can't talk about them, how can you be prepared for the next time around when something like this happens? You can't be prepared because you don't know why the hell people did it. If you don't know why they did it, then how do you avoid it or try to prevent it from happening again? This whole, and it goes back to like that woman in the thing, how she was worried about Africa or China. Well, here's the thing. I look at it like this. This society and voting is basically controlled by white people in the suburbs for the most part. Their say-so is the only say-so that gets, acknowledged. So if they decide that we're not going to talk about this, then we're not going to talk about it. And so they've decided what the solution is going to be, regardless of if that's a great move or not, without anybody say so being added into the discussion. Just like how you see with a lot of these content creators, you have a deficit of minorities who are getting promoted as content creators just in general. And that's something I feel sure you brought up. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Captain Hines. Let's see what else. Yeah, it's illegal in some states to buy or have body armor. It needs to be illegal in all of these states, or it needs to be certain kind of scrutiny, which you need to be able to do. There should be no way an 18-year-old could go out and go buy all these different weapons, start buying body armor, helmets, and all this stuff like that, and it's not raising a red flag. If you have more than a certain amount in your and which you're traveling with the airport, that gets you stopped and questioned for hours. So why is it so loosey goosey with all these other things? And it goes back to our politicians are completely corrupt, and therefore they will not figure out solutions to try to limit or stop these things from happening. God forbid this happen, but say that one of these politicians' kid dies. Watch how fast all this shit changes. Or let a politician get shot and killed. Watch how fast all of this stuff changes. What are you guys talking about? Edible condoms. Marcus, there's no doubt who's timed me out twice already. A censorship, take away the wrench. Yeah, I don't know who's exactly doing what, and my apologies for whoever's doing it. Jersey has it that only convicted felons can't buy body armor. It needs to be no person of the natural public needs it. Period. It won't be tough change for better. Also, with the police officers, you guys have no problem kicking down the door and running in to shoot people, but they're hesitant to run in to save people. It's ridiculous. It won't though change for better. Yeah, I don't see much stuff changing for better because I don't believe that they want to address any of the ills that this country is dealing with, and it's dealing with a massive amount of ills. Wesley says the congresswoman from Arizona got shot, and there was a lot of teeth mashing, but no changes. Yeah, but you got to remember, Gabby Gifford was a Democrat. Let Steve Scalise, who was a Republican, die of it. I guarantee you Republicans will have a different heart on the matter. Or I always tell people, if you really want gun control, just give guns to a bunch of black people. Watch how fast they'll come out with legislation to make it illegal everywhere. Did my chat get censored? I haven't censored anybody's chat, so apologies if anybody's getting their chats censored. It's about dystopian times where the people rise up against the elites. It's brutal, but it sounds so good. Subtitles. I would say that I believe that the tenor of things are going to get worse before they get better, sadly. So on that note, I guess I will wrap it up. Make sure also to go over to Indie Left and follow all those wonderful content creators over there and Indie News Network. Give them all some love. Misha, you're funny. But it's Thomas. It is me. I have a stalker that says inappropriate things and not fit for the chat. Well, Kelly, message me and let me know what's going on, or maybe I'll have to go back through here and see what's going on. Yeah, I don't know. My apologies for all that stuff. So people should be equally as armed as the police. Demilitarize the police. Yeah, the police literally have freaking tanks and shit like that, but they can't stop shootings like this. It took literally an off-duty cop to go and stop the shooting in Tulsa. I mean, not Tulsa, but in Texas. And right now, I hear recently out here, there's some kind of stabbing attack that's went on in one of the hospitals. So that'll probably be something to talk about next week. I will email you. So, okay, yeah, definitely do that. But this has been the Political Matrix. Oh, yeah, by the way, I will be live tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm probably just going to have like, I don't know. I'll probably have like a free episode. Just have people, you guys just run some questions to me and then we'll talk and have a conversation. I'll mostly go through the chat. I don't have a specific topic or guest. Like I said earlier, I had some issues with when, I had to go to the emergency room, a lot of pain. But I will, deal with that. Gun safety and gun ranges for everyone. People who are scared, haven't even held an M4. Yeah. I've held a lot of different weapons. So I'll leave it at that. And I will be doing Hebrew apologetics, I believe, sometime tomorrow evening. So I guess look out for that. Chris should be back next week. I thank you, everybody who's got in here, and go ahead, head over and catch Uncle Warren. Tell him I'm sorry that I delayed you any longer, but you guys all have a good night, and I will see you over there. I'll be in the chat with Uncle Warren. So yeah, you guys all have a good night. Yeah, I'm feeling better. The drugs are kicking in, and I'm about to go pound some right now and have something to eat. But you guys all have a good night, and thank you for tuning in.